Just give me a moment. I'm going to
We're
run the
live.
quick intro.
You're live
Oh,
on
we're
my
live.
end.
All right, fuck it. We're just going to go live then. Let's start streaming. All right, I think we're live. I think we are good to go. Welcome everybody to Crypto's News, here where we talk about news and we have great guests. Hopefully they provide information that, especially from old school Bitcoiners like these guys, will help you on your journey with making the best decisions for yourselves. At the end of the day, you know, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I don't think anyone should. I think you're smart, and that's how I've always operated this channel. I think you're smart enough to take that information and digest it yourselves and make up your own mind. So I have a very controversial guest, especially here, Richard Hart. He's all over the news these days because Richard Hart has come out with his HEX project, which he's been working on for quite some time. He's been working on for, I think, almost 2 years now when I first heard about it. And I remember I had Richard on the show talking about it. I first heard about it, I think, on Ivan on Tech's channel. So it's been a long time working. And now it's just all sorts of buzz and it's everywhere. So Richard Hart, labeled a scammer, labeled the person that I should not ever give a platform to, even though I have in the past. And I think you're a smart guy. And therefore, I think we can have, as adults, smart conversations here. And to have that conversation along, I brought on another friend of mine who you guys on the show might recognize, Nick's Ops, Daniel Jones. Daniel's been on the show too for like 3-hour streams because Daniel can talk about pretty much any subject related to Bitcoin, another Bitcoin OG. I mean, you guys, can you quickly give yourselves an intro on who you think you are and how early you got into Bitcoin? Start off with that. I'll start with Richard and then Daniel. Go ahead.
Go Daniel first.
All right.
I'm Daniel. I'm a hacker. I'm a nerd. Been involved with Bitcoin and mining it since early 2009. Seen the come and go. I've used to work at Forex exchanges. So I know the internal and now external workings of the business, both from user perspective and from the financial sector, people profiting off of people trading and actually using this stuff.
So when did you buy your first Bitcoin?
Never bought Bitcoin. Well, I bought my first one time as a joke to experiment, but I never bought Bitcoin. I mined mine, remember?
Yeah. So how early was it? That, 09. Damn. So that's like right around when Satoshi started Bitcoin itself, right? So old.
There was no value back then. You couldn't even buy it or sell it if you wanted to. I mean, quite literally, it wouldn't be until much later that year that people could even do anything with it. I mean, of course, you could transact locally with people, but much different environment, much different perception of what.
Yeah. And what about you, Richard Hart? How early did you get your first Bitcoin? How did you get it?
I started mining first quarter of 2011. Price was 50 cents. Mined full block rewards, no pool, solo, 50 BTC per. Sounds
CPU?
amazing. No, GPU. Oh, cool. ATI 5970. Two chips on one card. And then I, built a server farm out that was full of 6950s. Overclocked them, put dummy pins in the DVI connectors, actually the VGA connectors, resistors, to make it think there was a monitor plugged in to activate the video card, which is the hacks you had to do back then.
Yeah. Then
I bought heavy on the $30 top and helped make the top. So that sucked to watch the price take a giant dive directly thereafter. So if I'd got in a couple days earlier or a couple days later, I'd have 10x the net worth, which is just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
That's how markets work, man. I mean, but yeah. And once the GPU mining started, that was fun. But shortly after that, the ASIC shit killed mining.
Yeah, well, guys, I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to do that first and foremost. I know you're busy. Both of you are doing many different things. But again, and thank the audience for showing up. I think you're going to learn something from this interview. I want to structure it in a way where it's not necessarily just me asking questions. I didn't just draw up a bunch of questions. I want it to be kind of candid. I want you guys to feel free to not necessarily interrupt rudely, but interrupt each other. Just like feel free to dive in whenever you need to in this conversation. And anyone in the chat who's here is welcome to also just ask questions along the way, and maybe I'll ask them at the end. But yeah, let's go ahead and kick things off here, guys. So I've been watching a lot of your interviews, Richard Hart, and you've done interviews with everyone from Roger Ver, Peter McCormick, who was the last one I saw. He just spent the whole time labeling you a scammer, which I'm not going to do because I don't think we're really going to get anywhere by just calling you a scammer. I think for any project though in crypto, it's nice that you start off by assuming something is a scam. and then have, dig deeper, keep digging deeper, keep asking questions. Don't just write it off because it's a scam, and be willing to learn. Maybe you'll get something out of it. And just to be completely forthcoming with you, Richard, on this show, I've talked about HEX in the past when you started releasing it. I said, it's a scam depending what you want it to be. So if you're giving your ether to the project, then to me, it could be a scam. It's probably going to go down in value. You've lost something that has a lot of utility. And if you are getting your free HEX coins by claiming them with Bitcoin, then it's not a scam because it's something you got completely free. So I pretty much seen it from that lens. It's not really a scam unless someone runs away with your money, but there is the argument that you are doing with that for people's money. So before we get into that whole world, would you like to explain HEX in your own terms as far as CD and exactly what it's doing?
I'd rather just explain the scam thing, and then.
All right, please go ahead.
So, I understand scams better than apparently anyone else in the crypto space. I don't know whether it's because they're stupid or they don't have a good vocabulary or they don't know how to read Wikipedia. I don't know why the critics are so retarded, and I have to help them be critical better. So critics that don't like scams, listen to Richard Hart. Richard Hart is going to educate you and teach you about scams because you don't know shit about shit. So I will spoon feed the information to you. Scams are where people lie, deceive, commit fraud. They get your money, you lose your money. There's always some nice excuse. So what's most common in crypto space for scams is that there's arbitrage, and you give your money to someone and they do arbitrage with some magical bot, and then they pay you some rewards, and the early guys get the rewards. But those rewards aren't being paid out of a business activity that's profitable. That is a lie. That is fraudulent. In fact, those rewards are being paid out of stealing from the principal of the next guys to get in. And then once you don't have enough new guys to pay the old guys, it fails and they exit scam with whatever money they had. Or it just fails entirely and they don't exit scam with anything. And this has happened numerous times in numerous businesses. It's not just restricted to crypto. And so the best way to describe scams are those things that have bad intent, they have bad intention, they involve lies and deceit and fraud. That's a scam. Now, in crypto, what most of these idiots call scams are things that went up in price and then went down in price. So let me think in crypto. What's something that's gone up in price and then down in price? Bitcoin goes down 85% every 3 years. Ethereum, 95%. Almost every altcoin, 95%. Amazon.com, 50% of internet commerce in the United States, also went down 95%. So using this rubric of how many percent has something gone down and therefore it becomes a scam means that every fucking cryptocurrency is a scam. Or you need to use vocabulary properly and speak with specificity and stop calling everything a fucking scam. How about if things are overpriced, you call them overpriced. And if things are fraudulent and deceitful, they're scams. And this idea that when people lose money that it's a scam, most new businesses lose money. Most new businesses go out of business. But does that mean they're scams? No, it means that they were risky. And use specific language. A new business startup that failed is not a scam. They may have tried as hard as they could. They may have had the right business. It may have just been the wrong time. Like pet food delivery. Pet food delivery came out in the 2000s, failed. Now it works fine. Normal food delivery, web van, etc. Shit didn't work then, but it was a good business idea. It was just too early. So you idiots out there need to learn to use your words and know the difference between the following things. A Ponzi is different from a pyramid, is different from a scam, is different from a bubble. I will teach you this, and no one else will. I don't know why. I guess everyone's stupid, except me in this case. So a pyramid requires multiple levels, like a pyramid, like in Egypt. So in order to have a pyramid, you've got to have referrals. Okay, I'm going to make money on that guy, and then I'm going to make money on the guy that he got under him, and then I'm going to make money on the guy that got under him and under him, and you inflate the maximum number of people between the user and the service or good. and it's inefficient and it sucks and it makes the world worse. Okay, that's a pyramid. Is HEX a pyramid? No. Why? Because there's only one tier of referral, just like Amazon, just like Tesla. One tier. One person gets to be referrer. That's it. Nobody has to do this, that, next, none of that shit. So, not a pyramid. Okay, is it Ponzi? Well, does it mislead, lie, deceive, and tell you that it's going to give you rewards in a certain way, and then actually you don't get rewards, and the thing that said was going to happen doesn't happen? No. It's open source, audited. The source is viewable. It's technically source available, right? It's open to audit. It's open to view. You can see the code. It's not open to like make copies of and do whatever you want with. So how can something where you're the only person that can mint your coins and you're the only person that can mint your rewards and you're the person that owes yourself HEX, you're the one that mints your own rewards, just like a Bitcoin miner. If you're a Bitcoin miner, you mint your own reward. No one gives it to you. You mint it yourself. HEX is the same thing. You mint your own reward, not a Ponzi. Can't fail to meet its obligations because you owe yourself HEX that you create running the HEX code yourself. Not a Ponzi. Okay. So it's not a Ponzi. It's not a pyramid. Is it a bubble? I don't know. It came out 13 days ago. Do you consider the price on an illiquid exchange that has only 2 Bitcoin of order book on the buy and sell side, and you could empty the order book on the sell side for 2 Bitcoin, or you could empty the order book on the buy side for 2 Bitcoin and set any price you want? So for 2 Bitcoin, you could set the price as high as you want or as low as you want to the minimum possible tradable price. I don't consider that, honest price discovery. It takes time to build liquidity, and it takes time to get enough market participants of different types in an area to get real price discovery. The majority of the exchanges that carry HEX currently are ones that probably, most of their customers came from me mentioning, hey, look, they listed it. Isn't that cool? So if you want to...
You've had like Bitcoin.com recently list you. You've had
there's like
Binance
10 exchanges.
Actually listed you. That's quite a lot. How did that work out then? Without like a central person, they just listed it themselves. They just decided to list it.
They text me and say that they're going to list it.
Yeah, and
cool.
So that's literally the order book right now, 2 Bitcoin, and I haven't gone in to verify.
Yeah, so the most liquid place currently is Bidesk, BIDESK.com. And when I was looking 2 or 3 days ago, it was basically I could look it up if you want me to. It was basically 2 Bitcoin on the buy side. So what you do is your order book has your sells on the top, your buys on the bottom, and if you look all the way on the right, it says total. And then that total is how thick the order book is to get to that price. And so you count those millions of HEX. The last time I looked, to go to the top of the sell side would cost maybe like 40 million HEX or something. And it's 3 Satoshis. So, 40 million times 0.7 zeros and a 3 times the price of Bitcoin, which is like 7,000. Maybe it's 6,850 now. That gives you what it would cost to liquidate and like eat all the orders and then hit that price. And then once you've emptied the book, you can just set the price wherever you want, right? Like so yeah, I think now you could say that a more accurate price discovery is in the ratio that people are trading. You can transform Ethereum into HEX, and that ratio, you could say, is the highest liquidity price discovery, because there's about 1,000 ETH every day that go into that. So there's about 1,000 Ethereum that are being transformed to HEX daily currently.
So you don't feel wrong if the value of HEX goes wrong and people gave away their ETH, which arguably might have more utility, or do you feel that that HEX has more utility than ETH, and therefore, it's all right, it's cool because it will go up in value?
You've seen crypto charts. Everything goes up and everything goes down unless it's a stable coin, and I don't give a shit what you buy. Now, if you buy the wrong thing, maybe it never goes up again. Like if you bought Omni or Counterparty or IOTA.
Debatably, something that keeps a namesake, I think, will go up, probably more likely, especially because it'll probably survive and stay in the consciousness. And luckily, you're quite the personality, so I do have a feeling that it could go up and it might get bumps, especially if we get into a moon phase. And I've also mentioned that before.
I don't know what the price will do, and no one else does. It could go to 0 and stay there forever. It could go up 10,000x in 2.5 years, which is the design intention. That's what, when you create something, you create it with properties that you hope execute certain behaviors in the real world. When you build a car, you hope that it rolls. And if you build a car and you intended for it to roll and it doesn't roll, well, then back to the drawing board for you. So when you design things, you have an intention in mind. So the design intention of HEX is to be the world's first blockchain CD, which addresses a larger market than printed currency. There's $7.2 trillion in CDs in the United States and China. There's only about $5 trillion of printed currency. So it addresses a larger market than Bitcoin does from the currency perspective.
Could you define a CD for people who've never heard of it?
Oh, sure. It's got a different name in every country for some stupid reason. So in the United States, we call them certificates of deposit. You just lock your money up for a certain period of time, and they pay you extra interest because if you locked your money. You lock longer, you get paid more. Every extra year you lock, you get paid about 20% more interest. You get a jumbo CD. If you put 100,000 US in, then you get about 10% more interest. We just copied those.
Depends on the institution and who's providing the CD and that kind of stuff and the backing for it.
You can go to bankrate.com and they have a very, very extensive list of CD comparisons across hundreds of banks. And you can see, what the early termination fees are, whether they bang you with an auto renewal at a worse rate, what your percentage is at, what type of compounding it gives. So there's a lot of properties that you can compare in CDs.
So how do you derive the CD on HEX? Like how is that interest rate determined? And how do you get an interest rate for versus a free airdrop, which is Bitcoin, and Ether, which is something where you deposit something, you actually have a deposit versus just a snapshot?
Yeah, I can explain all those things. I want to make sure we're clear on the scam bullshit. Scams involve fraud. This is open source code that you run. You are the network.
The fraud here would be the origin address, right? That's
explain the fraud to me. Satoshi's got 1 million coins. Satoshi
hold on, stop. Satoshi does not have 1 million coins. You can do the math. Anybody who understands Bitcoin already knows that that's a fallacy. You actually literally mathematically can prove that he would not have 1 million coins based on the number of miners that were in the network starting in March going through August of 2009. One would have to literally hit 154 days worth of blocks, hitting all blocks. That's 144 per day. He does not have 1 million coins. Please do some research before you make a misinformation again.
I'm quoting you, Sergio Lerner's research, and you can tell him his research is fucked, but it's the best research I've seen.
You can actually go look at the blocks themselves and determine by looking at the addresses. You can also look at based on hashing power and a few other things. But
okay, so how many coins does Satoshi have?
Information about that to disprove the fallacy that he has 1 million. You want
so how many coins does he have?
About 126,000 based on my math, based on the number of coins that I know he hit. But I'm just being honest with you based on math.
That's fine. So what percentage of the total supply did he own at the end of the first year?
I'd have to
50%, 40%.
No, less than that, way less, because there was a lot of other people that were mining. Keep in mind, I was mining as well.
No, but so I'll do this math for you because it's very simple math. It's 50 blocks per 10 minutes.
Actually, it wasn't the first couple of blocks, but yeah, let's size point. Remember, there was time adjustment going from 1 to 35
times 60. So 50 times 6 gets us BTC per hour. Hold on.
Yeah, you do 50 times 144. You can actually do the math. Like I said,
50 times 6 gets us to hours, gets us to days, gets us to months, gets us to a year. Okay. So if he had 100,000 coins, 115,000 was your number?
It's around 126,000 by the time you stop mining altogether, not the first year. Altogether. That's about how much he had.
When do you think he stopped mining?
He stopped mining not long after VOI. It was probably let's see. He posted when he stopped mining. I have to go check Bitcoin Talk right now. I don't have all my research in front of me on this device.
I can try to pull that up.
So I'm just gonna use the 100,000 number for simple math, which is 10 times less than what Sergio Lerner thinks. So, and look, I don't, whatever it is, he's got a lot of fucking coins. So 100,000. So the supply of Bitcoin, if my math is right, should have been about 2.6 million coins at the end of the first year. And he would have had 100,000 of those just for fun's sake. So let's divide 100,000 into 2.6 million. Okay, 4%. I don't think your number's right, but I don't think your number's right. So he owned 4% of the total supply. He owned 4% of the total supply.
We have to wonder how much of the hashing power he basically had that first year, or in total, whatever we're talking.
Okay, so let's attack this in a different way. So this argument that I was going to present to you works if you believe that Satoshi has 1 million coins. If you don't think he has 1 million coins, then I'll present the argument in a different way. If you make a piece of art, how much are you allowed to sell it for? Whatever the fuck you want. You can sell it for whatever the fuck you want, and people either buy it or they don't. So what if you build a car? What can you sell it for? Whatever the fuck you want. What if what you can do whatever you want in a capitalist society, and if people like what your offer is and they accept it, everyone else has to shut up and fuck off. Period. So there's cheap restaurants where you can get a burger for $1, and then there's expensive restaurants where you can get a burger for $25, and there's a 25x difference for fucking burger. This is the real world we're talking about. This really happens every day. $25 burger gets sold, $1 burger gets sold. But for some reason, there's a socialist bunch of cocksuckers all over the internet that thinks that they get to dictate the relationships that parties get to have between each other. You can't buy that thing. You can't participate in that network. You can't associate with those people because I don't like it. This is the cancel culture. This is people that try and get comedy shut down. This is people that try and get crypto shut down. There's people in the fiat.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah. There's people that try and get crypto shut down all day long. And then some portion of those assholes actually buy some crypto, and then they just try and get all the other crypto they don't own shut down because they're scumbags.
So we're moving in the direction of just consciousness here and control of the mind, obviously, and ideas, right? Like who decides what price is. And I actually completely agree with that one, right? And what is a scam? Let's get down to the verbiage of it. Like, is this a scam? And again, just let's go ahead and go back to the point that I was talking about.
XLM had 80% of its coins in a foundation, pumped hard as fuck, and went top 10. And now it's number 11, I believe. I've
been getting free XLM for a few months now. I don't know if you've heard about that Keybase airdrop.
I'm getting it free too, because I got a Keybase account.
It just ended Friday.
Yeah. But they terminated it early because people were abusing the system with Sybil attacking, where you create false identities. So if XLM can pump hard as fuck with 80% of the coins in a foundation, and XRP can pump hard as fuck with 60% of the coins and basically a central owned thing, I don't care about anyone's armchair economist theories as to why their asses that didn't do anything deserve more. Hey, I didn't do a fucking thing. I want more. You don't get more. You get the deal or you don't get the deal. You want part of the world's first blockchain city that's ever existed and has all these amazing features? You're going to get the same deal that everyone else was okay with. That's how the market sets the ratio. You can't possibly overpay because everyone else was happy with that deal. You all got the same deal at the end of the day. So EOS launched this way. Go ahead.
I want to chime in and say one thing. I agree with you on that part. If you don't get involved, you don't deserve to bitch about it, because honestly, those of us that got involved early in Bitcoin, people bitch at us today about this stuff. And reality was they were just fucking either afraid or too dumb to figure out how to get involved with the network. It wasn't like it was quiet. It's the perception was different, but nobody was getting involved. And that was because of various other factors. But who are we? Like, why is someone going to be able to condemn me for my involvement early on in what I did? You can't tell me what the fuck I was wrong for doing so. Now later, the price is so high. Oh my God, the old OGs hold all this stuff. Well, we got involved because people were, it was attractive to us, the anti-government libertarian views of a permissionless network with a trustless consensus that nobody controlled.
And that anyone can build over.
Correct.
At the end of the day, whether you call it a CD or not, or whatever you want to call it, build whatever the heck you want is what I say over Ethereum. Okay, but
you heard him use the word permissionless, right? Well, for some reason, these little sycophant cocksuckers out there in the crypto community, they don't understand what permissionless means. It means I can build whatever the fuck I want, and you can watch and be happy about it and quit crying like a little bitch.
Involve or not get involved, The problem is obviously extraneous parts of it, the other layer effects. So the price of whatever token, the people who get burned because they didn't do their research, and the marketing aspect.
Doing your research don't help you when the blue chip drops 85% every 3 fucking years. I don't care what research you do. You're going to have a huge drawdown in crypto no matter what you fucking buy, unless it's a stable coin. And then you have counterparty risk and they could just drop to zero instantly. So if you're in crypto, you're going to get fucking hammered with volatility. You're going to get hammered with it. And that's the reason you're in it in the first place, because you want the upside volatility. And if you want a 10x to the upside, boy, you got to be able to withstand that negative 85%.
Well, that depends on your goals, because if I invest in Ethereum because I have this dream of a world computer, right, then, you know, I bought what I would imagine to be a real company that's trying to build real products and a real use case that is permissionless, that lets you build HEX or whatever the heck you want on this system that can't be shut down. It's immutable, and so on. So I invested in that because it's an idea. It's an investment. You can see it as literally an investment versus just speculation and trading and hoping it goes up and performs as a CD or draws down less than something else just because Richard Hart's name is attached to it. I bought something because it has a real build, like it's trying to do something. It might not succeed, and but even if it draws down, I feel like it'll have potential to climb up because it's got a bigger vision behind it. Like why would I buy HEX necessarily? Why would I either buy or lock up my ether? I mean, I understand claiming it. It might have value. I might be able to sell it for whatever it was worth. I think at like 0.0001 or something, like per Bitcoin claimed or something like that. Was the last price that I heard for it. Like why? But why would I really go out of my way if I'm an investor versus just a speculator to get involved with this? Or should I just ignore it completely? Or do I call Richard a scammer and go out there and try to protect people, like, because really, I don't know, white knight it or whatever.
So let's talk about preventing scams. Once again, I'm the goddamn expert, and I understand it better than anyone else in the crypto space for some reason. So here's how you can prevent scams. There's only 3 ways to do it. You can complain to the regulators and hope that they do their job. And you know what they're going to tell you? We're understaffed, and they are understaffed, and they try and do their job to the best of their ability. And they can't shut things down as quickly as they get started up. And it's post facto. People have already lost a shitload of money by the time they can get a judge to get an injunction to start trying to enforce a law. The people have already lost their money. It's too late. They don't get the money back usually. Okay, so that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's too easy to start these things up. There's too many countries that they're doing them in. A lot of countries don't have good law enforcement for murder, let alone crypto scams. So that angle doesn't work. Okay, well, what's the next thing you can do? You can advertise to people, hey people, please flip a switch and be smarter and stop being scammed. And you know what actually happens? They don't listen to you, and they don't believe you, and they get scammed anyway. It's like bringing your family to a timeshare seminar in Florida. They're going to buy because the salesman there's sales pitch to get them to buy is better than your counter sales pitch to make them not buy because he's got more practice. So that doesn't work either. So what's left? I'm the only guy smart enough to come up with a fucking idea how to cure scams, and no one else is smart enough to do it, but I am. And I'm actually doing it, and it's actually working in the real world. I am making scams have less money available to them, less mindshare, less attention. The people that used to work for scams, like Trayvon James and like Craig Grant, that used to promote BitConnect, they don't promote that shit.
Trey is promoting HEX as of
today. That's right.
It's a trending subject.
Yeah. So a person that used to promote something that was shit for the world is now promoting something that's good for the world. And what does that mean? If he's making HEX videos, a peer-to-peer, openly verifiable, 3 times audited cryptocurrency, he's not promoting some fucking scam, or he has less time to promote scams. And it makes the world a better place, and it scales because our marketing is effective in the same way scams marketing is. Hey, cryptocurrencies go up a lot. Take a look. Isn't that cool? It might not, it might go to 0, but you know what? It might actually go up too. So take a look. And that messaging drowns out and crowds out the messaging for the fucking Ponzi schemes like Plus Token, which owns 1% of all Bitcoin, using a cryptocurrency sales pitch, stole a lot of people's life savings, is dumping the price right now, but was also responsible for the 3K to 14K move. And the 14K top was when their founders got arrested. So I am doing more to get scams defunded and to get scams to be less successful than every other person in the space, period. I'm doing more to get people to take control of their private keys and to take their keys out of the hands of central counterparties like exchanges, which is what crypto was invented for, to get rid of counterparties, to give you personal responsibility.
I actually agree on that, because people who can't claim their free Bitcoin, assuming that the Ethereum one is a scam and the Bitcoin claim is not a scam, assuming all of that, if I didn't have possession of my private keys, I was not able to claim that the exchange I had my crypto deposited in, or BlockFi or Celsius or whatever, that has my deposit, right? So,
and those guys, you for 6 or 7% a year, you risk losing your whole fucking stack. So centralized finance, which risks your whole stack for 7%, is another thing that we're killing with HEX. We're killing it because it's just you and the code, and there's no counterparty to fuck you out of your money and get you exit scammed, or when BitGo that controls their keys loses the keys or has a government order that says you got to give us the keys now. You think BitGo is going to not give them the keys? They're going to give them the keys. So when you guys want to get your 7% return and risk your whole stack in some centralized bullshit, you're screwing up. There's better gains to be made in other trustless interest products, of which HEX is one. So I am doing more to fight scams, more to improve security than all of these idiots that are out there screaming scam at me.
Wait. You said more for security while you're built on someone else's platform. I'm going to have to disagree with you, champ.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
No offense, but when you start talking about building on top of someone else's platform, remember that you're still vulnerable for any potential security flaws that exist on their platform.
Yep.
This includes whether or not a fork is successful, whether or not you have deviation from said fork, maintain various other tasks, including key structures, various things like that. So
I agree with all that.
From a software perspective, that statement would be false. I'm sorry on that one. You have to say that. Because
I love to have this argument with you.
When you're building on top of someone else's platform, you are directly dependent on them.
Yes.
This is also part of the problem with software in general, because people rely on dependent libraries. So as we know, if you build on someone else's platform and you're deriving things from that platform, you are actually less secure because you have no control over the primary platform in which you're building on, unless you're an active contributor.
That's 100% not true. And I can prove to you that it's not true.
Actually, hold on. Libra SSL, that Heartbleed thing that impacted everyone, that said that they wouldn't be impacted.
That wasn't Libra SSL. It was Open SSL that had Heartbleed.
Sorry, my bad. You're right. Open SSL.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But what I'm saying is everyone built upon that also suffered from the same vulnerability. And the same
I know that.
In many chains, including Bitcoin. So what I'm saying is that saying that you're building on top of someone else's platform is more secure is a fallacy by definition.
No, you're wrong, and I'm going to explain to you why you're wrong.
Go ahead.
Okay. In software, you have bugs. You always have bugs. And if you have a larger attack surface, you have more bugs. And if you have spaghetti code, you have more bugs. And so how do you reduce your attack surface, and how do you get rid of the spaghetti? Modularity. Okay. So Bitcoin's had 2 inflation bugs where anyone could mint as many free fucking Bitcoin as they wanted. 2 massive critical vulnerabilities. One they rolled the chain back for when 16 billion coins printed in 2011, 2010.
Yeah, value overflow. It was 2011 out there.
And then a Bitcoin Cash developer discovered another one about a year ago and disclosed it responsibly instead of just using it and printing as many free Bitcoin as he wanted. What a nice guy. That's the security Bitcoin has. Comedy security. Total and complete actual failure. With 65% of its mining in China. Which, by the way, probably not where you want to have mining centralization. Probably not the ideal place for it. Since they tend to nationalize things.
Yeah, but you also have to remember that there's 2 parts to the Bitcoin network. There's mining and nodes. So while you may argue that you can have mining rules adjusted,
it's way harder.
Can also veto the number of peers and what software they run can control what fork is being utilized and what's going to be done going forward based on the network rules.
I'm more than happy to fight. I'm more than happy to talk about civil attacks against the Bitcoin network. I would like to finish up this part with software security. So how do you get rid of attack surface, and how do you get rid of fucking spaghetti code? Because with spaghetti code, when you try and improve something, you actually break something else. And that's how the last inflation bug was introduced into Bitcoin. The last inflation bug, which really means print as many free coins as you want, was introduced when a developer wanted to make the networking stack more efficient and accidentally fucked the consensus and let anyone mint as many free coins as they wanted. An improvement to the networking stack fucked consensus because it is non-modular spaghetti fucking code. So what does HEX do? HEX is better. HEX took the consensus code and put it in a smart contract that is immutable, can't be fucked with, can't be changed. and it just sits
So
there.
smart contracts can be fucked with, and they can be modified. Look at DAO. I mean, like literally, what you just said is counter to. Yeah.
I know
anyway.
more about this than you, and I'm going to explain it to you again.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you right now that what I'm about to say to you is that what you're talking about when in regards to spaghetti code around Bitcoin is that it's a self-standing compilable piece of code versus HEX and everything else that's deriving from dependencies to build on third parties that need that in order to construct itself. Now, if you want me to start breaking down into brass
tell me
tacks,
why Bitcoin's had two inflation.
So I can get my device.
Tell me why Bitcoin's had two inflation bugs and Ethereum's had none.
Well, I can tell you why Bitcoin had the first one is because there wasn't that many people using the network, and then once that bug was found in the value overflow incident, there was something that was done. It took 5 hours to roll that back. That transaction literally was unexpected. Satoshi knew that it could potentially be a problem, but it never was exploited. As it was exploited, it was addressed. Now, if you want to talk about exploitation, there's a number of ways of exploiting all chains, and those are very basic in the mechanics of how a blockchain works. But if you want to get into the specifics on that, I'm going to need to go grab my other device so that I can.
You don't have to grab your device. I can explain the DAO hack to you very simply. The DAO hack was a re-entrancy bug because it used more than one contract. And by screwing with transaction ordering, you could just empty the contract to some other address. And so a hacker used the code as it was designed and just took the money, the ETH, out of there and put it in his own address. And then a white hat hacker discovered what he was doing and then raced him to get the other money that he didn't get yet. And then they got some portion of the money. And none of what happened with writing a bad smart contract on top of Ethereum has anything to do with Ethereum. So the parity multisig hack, where they didn't write the word private in front of the creator function, they left it out, which made the creator public, which means anyone could tell it to kill itself. And someone went and told it to kill itself and locked all the funds. Has nothing to do with the Ethereum network. Not writing good code and fucking up and not making a function private ain't got shit to do with Ethereum, bro. And having a reentrancy bug and writing bad software, which was what the DAO did, doesn't have anything to do with Ethereum. Nothing. The Ethereum network did what it was supposed to do. You wrote bad code, the bad code executed and did what bad code does, what you didn't want it to do. Ethereum worked perfectly fine in that instance. It worked perfectly fine in the parity multisig hack. It worked perfectly fine in the DAO. Those were people using it improperly. This is like guns don't kill people, people kill people kind of shit. These developers put the guns to their head and blew their fucking brains out. And then, people that are not specific with their language say Ethereum sucks. No, in fact, Ethereum was quite good. The people that used Ethereum sucked. And here's exactly how they sucked. So HEX is unlikely.
Well, I'm not saying that Ethereum is the reason. So first of all, I'm gonna go ahead and start talking. I'm gonna have to interrupt you because I can kind of see how you work with things. So we're gonna play this like brass tacks in a tech discussion in the valley. So let's go through the rails here. One, ETH is not what I was talking about being bad. The people who write bad software are bad people because they're terrible developers to begin with. You can't fix stupid. You can't fix ignorance. That's not a money. Well, ignorance you can fix. Stupid you can't. That's not a money problem. The issue is that if you're a bad developer, you're going to write bad code. People run your bad code. They're going to have a bad time.
I agree with all that. I agree with everything you said.
Okay. Now, when you start talking about Bitcoin, you're talking about a different time frame in which people didn't quite understand the technology to begin with.
This should happen a year ago, man.
What's that?
The last inflation bug happened a year ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, so Ethereum developers are better than Bitcoin developers overall.
Now they are, but they didn't used to be. I think that
we've got. Oh yeah, is that why you switched over?
No.
Just being a complete maximalist.
No, well, not at all.
Maximalism's a stupid idea anyway. Think about it. There's no Apache maximalist. There's nobody that only uses Apache-based web services and only subscribe to companies using Apache. I'm sorry, but that's dumb. That's a dumb idea. It's a dumb mindset. It's a dumb everything.
I agree 100% with what he's saying. So
because you use the right tool for the right job for what you're trying to accomplish. You would not go and try to build a house with just a screwdriver. You could. It would take you exponentially longer, but yeah, you shouldn't do those types of things.
Everything's design trade-offs. Do you want to trade convenience for security? Do you want to trade security through throughput? And every one of these blockchains is somewhere on that spectrum. Do you want more features with more attack surface? There's trade-offs everywhere. So people should be allowed to choose which trade-offs they want. If you want high throughput with less security, you should be allowed to do that, and people should shut the fuck up and leave you alone and let you do that with their maximalist bullshit.
A fucking database.
Yeah, you really should use a database for most things. Blockchains are horrible. Yeah. They're the worst, slowest, most expensive, shittiest database in the world.
I think we all agree that.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about for what its function is, right? If you're talking about being able to publish data and retrieve that data, they're the most inefficient databases in the world and should not be used for anything that should be in high demand. And plus, when you start talking about the security around it, right? Once you start compromising the security that you're no longer validatable, you're no longer able to validate yourself. Instead, you're offsetting that validation to someone else. You've already compromised the security. Remember, security in a blockchain comes from public validations. Anytime it's privatized, you might as well just run a database anyway, because it's the same thing as using HMAC. So, I mean, literally, it's kind of a dumb argument when people use that. So,
yeah, I think if you want, it's this simple. Do you want anonymity? Do you want to be able to perform transactions with privacy? Okay, Bitcoin does not have that. Doesn't have it. So you got to use something else. End of story. Do you want high throughput? Bitcoin doesn't have that. Do you want low fees? Bitcoin doesn't have that. Do you want fast transactions? Bitcoin doesn't have that. Okay, well, you know what? People want those things. So you got to use shit that's not Bitcoin. Period. That's it. And if you're some type of maximalist that thinks that people shouldn't want privacy,
so considering Bitcoin has so many issues, Richard, and you wrote up that piece that you mentioned, the Peter McCormick interview that you did 2 days ago, which was 9 reasons Ethereum will never be worth more than Bitcoin. And yet, you know, I mean, ideally,
it's all true. That's why I leave the article up. So
can you break that up for us?
Yeah, they're design trade-offs. So there's more attack surface in Ethereum because you can do more things. So it's more useful, and therefore, so talk about consensus failures. One time, Geth didn't agree with parity because they have 2 core implementations. Well, that makes life hard. It's a little easier, actually, if you just have one kind of failure than 2 kinds of failures. So in Bitcoin, there's 99.9% dominance with the Bitcoin core client. So even if all these other little clients that people run fail, it doesn't matter. The network's not really affected. Just that user is affected.
Yeah,
so in
but
Bitcoin,
also Satoshi stated that implementing another version of Bitcoin or rewriting or re-implementing Bitcoin itself would be a task that no one should overtake that way.
And the rest of the quote is that if you did that, it would need to be bug for bug compatible and have the same exact bugs to reach the same exact consensus. And so you can't just program it to meet a spec, which Bitcoin doesn't even have a spec, but you also have to have it meet the bugs that were previously in the spec. Like, for instance, when they rolled back the chain to take out those 16 billion coins, it actually permanently reduced the supply of Bitcoin by 50 BTC because that black reward now doesn't exist. So that bug has to actually be programmed into the next client you would try to build, or you would break consensus. So
correct. I also want to make sure that there's some understanding here. I am not a Bitcoin maximalist, so I want to make sure that that's out there. That while I am a fan and an advocate for Bitcoin, I'm also a fan and advocate of technology as a whole and using the right tool for the right job.
Agree.
Now, there are some things about the maximalist movement, and by the way, I do want to say it was funny that you got Peter all pissed off and stuff like that. But because that dude's a dick. I'm sorry, but like, he gets mad.
I was just saying it's just dumb that he starts off the interview, and no offense to Peter or anyone, but saying let's not get technical. And then, as Richard brought up during the interview, he basically started getting technical. But whenever Richard wanted to bring up something technical, he wouldn't want to listen to it. So to me, it was like talking to a wall. So I actually got to commend Richard there because. Basically, Peter just did what everyone wants, which is just called Richard a scammer the whole time. Just focus on that. It's a beautiful thing. Let's just keep calling him a scammer. And my idea was, I'm not going to do that for this interview because that's stupid and no one will learn anything.
Exactly. So that's why I haven't called him a scammer once. I haven't implied any of that. I'm not going to, because what I'm trying to do here is just like what we talked about, is have a conversation.
Which I appreciate having you, because you can do that. We can definitely get a little bit more technical, and hopefully Richard has more to bounce off of with that than just a scammer idea.
It's just to discuss what's actually going on. While I haven't even looked at HEX because I haven't had time, and again, what we're discussing here is the different chains, and we're discussing the pros and cons, the design trade-offs. some of the history.
We were also talking about the attack vector as a whole.
Yes.
So basically, the more layers you add, the more attack holes, the more little pieces you connect, the more smart contracts, child DAOs, whatever.
It's not true. It seems true.
And you're breaking. You're denying that. So we never finished.
Listen,
that.
it's true and false at the same time. You have to understand the resolution. There's a rule in software that you never roll your own crypto because it's so hard you will get it wrong. Terribly, terribly, terribly wrong.
100% true on that one. You don't do that.
Exactly.
Do not do.
And by crypto, we do mean blockchain, guys. We're not talking about.
No, actually, we're talking about cryptography.
Yes.
No, we're talking about cryptography, not to be confused with cryptocurrency.
Okay. Yeah.
We're talking about cryptography.
Yes.
Never roll your own cryptographic libraries because it will end badly for you.
Yes.
Ask every major company in the world who has tried it. It ends badly.
So in this instance, that dependency is good. You should have that dependency on a good cryptographic library. In other instances that are not cryptography, library dependence is a risk. So there's a nuance you have to understand. Library dependency and attack surface is a risk for most things, but it is actually awesome and a benefit for cryptographic functions.
Then they're more peer audited, they're more reviewed, you're having more people use it. The attack
use
surfaces
SHA-256, don't make your own.
Yes.
SHA-256 isn't even cryptography. So people confuse encryption and
that's a hashing function, but that's it's a totally different thing. That's just generating a hash output.
It's like people say that
to make a uniqueness for the nonce.
It's not libraries.
So people
protocol.
No, nothing you said
for
makes any
hashing.
sense right there.
It's a protocol for hashing and encrypting.
Jesus. Look, we're probably talking outside of what the audience really gives a fuck about.
Yeah, that's what I was also going to say. I didn't want to get down deep into when you start talking about.
I get what you're saying.
We're
talking about libraries of different functions that have been peer audited. A lot of people have looked at. People have looked at for years. For example, use a code base that has worked, that traditionally has been audited and verified.
The funny part is everyone thought that everyone was watching OpenSSL and therefore it wouldn't be fucked. And that's why it was fucked, because no one was actually watching it. So Bitcoin stopped using OpenSSL for its cryptographic necessities. Bitcoin itself is built on top of a lot of open source shit. So it used to be built on OpenSSL, and now it's built on libsec 256p, or I don't remember, libsec P256K or whatever the fuck. It's his own library that I think Greg Maxwell put together. And now there's other things in the software, right? So when you use the blockchain database, the node actually has its own database inside it. It has a level DB instance. And so when you store data on Bitcoin blockchain, it actually 99.9% of the time gets stored in a level DB instance inside of someone's node in the network. And it used to use a different database software. It used to use Berkeley DB. So Bitcoin itself is dependent on level DB and libp256k and probably some other shit. For the GUI on Windows, they use something called Qt. So
Qt is also used on the Linux version too. I mean, Qt is just literally a UI front-end library that's used by most open source projects instead of using Incurse wrappers and stuff. But
I think we're both showing off how smart we are technically, but the audience is fucking lost. So we'll just both admit we're smart. And
it seems they're digging it. I don't know if
everyone yes, he and I both know a lot about software, and we can talk a lot about it. But I don't know. What
I think you made your point.
My point is that you can make Bitcoin more. The majority of software failures in Bitcoin come from bugs. And the way that you fight bugs is with modularity, refactoring, and fucking audits. And Bitcoin doesn't do any of that shit. They're not making it modular. They're not de-spaghettifying it. They don't have any fucking audits. HEX has 3 audits. Bitcoin has 0. HEX has very, very clean fucking code that's very hard to get an inflation bug out of.
Who did those audits, by the way?
Chain Security and CoinFabric.
Okay.
CoinFabric's in Argentina. Chain Security's in Switzerland. Chain Security tied for the best auditor for Solidity contracts in the world.
Oh yeah, I've only heard of like Open Zeppelin and
Open Zeppelin doesn't.
Consensus.
Don't get me into it, man. Everything you're saying is non-specific. Consensus is just a big company that funds a lot of shit that's involved in the Ethereum ecosystem. Zeppelin is an open source project that lets you make ERC20 tokens very easily. And
they also audit, though.
Yes,
Consensus has an audit arm.
I know that. I know about Consensus Diligence, and I know what they charge because I've been quoted from them. And I know about Open Zeppelin's audits, but Open Zeppelin didn't do their own audit on their own code. They had another company called Level K audit the Open Zeppelin 2.0 functionality. So Open Zeppelin was actually audited by Level K. You can't actually audit your own shit. And by the way, like their auditing arm is just passing out work to some other subcontractor anyway. Like they don't even really have an in-house auditing firm. It's just anyway.
Okay, cool. So you got some audits on it, and you were going afterwards as well. So Bitcoin isn't audited, right? And it's not modular.
So they need to fix it. They need to have a bug bounty program like Ethereum has. They need to get some fucking audits. Like I paid for audits. Those fuckers can pay for audits. So I'm sick and tired of hearing about Bitcoin's the best when it critically failed and had print as many free coins as you want twice and has less developers working on it and adds no features. And if they did add new features, they wouldn't even get forked into the fucking network. And what are all the developers working on now? Side projects, Liquid, Lightning. That ain't core. That doesn't make core better. Where's our fucking, we had a roadmap. We had a roadmap that says we're going to have a block size increase. Where's our fucking block size increase? It's been 2 years.
Nobody wants to do that so they can make their money on their own side channels. I've said that numerous times.
There you go.
Piss people off when you say it. I mean, ultimately, everybody wants to talk about let's scale Bitcoin, but they want to do it in layer 2. That's not Bitcoin. That's using Bitcoin, but that doesn't make it Bitcoin.
It's barely using it.
Just because something uses some other software doesn't make it that. Like,
right. So what do they got? They got cloud mining and ICOs and a competing product that uses hardware security modules called Liquid. Get the fuck out of here. This is decentralized software. We use decentralization to create censorship resistance. How is doing all that shit in one company censorship resistant?
Well, there's an incentive for it, right? Like I think Jameson Lowery recently was another trending thing that he used to be he was a proponent of bigger blocks until he started his own node company, Casa Hodl, and certain other things. And suddenly he's a fan of keeping nodes smaller. And that's been the case before.
I want to say this much right now. First of all, everyone that wants to use the node smaller argument is full of shit. Here's why. First of all, the chain is 200 and almost 50 gigs as of today. Last time I synced the peer was the other day. It was like 248, 249. So like when you start talking about that, you're already talking about you're needing a large amount of space to begin with. So if you're talking about you want peers to be fully validating, they're going to need that much to begin with. So no matter how small the block size is going to be, it's still going to grow. As you pack transactions and you want people to use it, the blocks are still going to be full, meaning that data is still going to be written to the disk. So it's a fallacy to believe that you want to trim that size down without having to do some type of header check and then storing that in a downloaded fashion. But still, you want to validate those transactions because remember the VOI, when we rolled back a transaction, literally someone could do that with a peer tag now if no one is expecting it because who people are syncing from, as most of the peers on the network are not fully validating as of today.
All that stuff you just said, it's accurate, and it's also security theater. Validating, you're going to run good validating software. What are you going to do? You're going to double click an exe? Okay, who gave you the exe? You trust them? Okay. Well, if you trust them to give you your exe, you could trust them to do the validation too, because that exe could just steal your fucking keys. So you obviously trust it. So let it do the validation too. If you're double clicking exes and not compiling the code yourself, you are not actually useful. You're not validating that anything's working right at all. You're just a slave to whoever set your default to your ass before you double clicked the exe.
As you told Tone Vase on the debate you guys did.
Yeah.
No, really. I mean, that's accurate though, because you're not compiling it. You're actually not even looking at the code in general. You're using a pre-built binary just as if you would from any other third-party non-crypto company that you're trusting software from.
You're trusting someone else.
So when you go to bitcoincore.org and you go to choose a wallet and you decide to use the Bitcoin Core wallet and it has a download link and you click download, if whoever is in control of that server or your internet connection to that server, if you're not watching your security thing, and you can actually forward that, most people won't notice it. So if someone gets in between you and that server and they just give you a different EXE, the fuck you, steal all your keys, and show you a dick pic on your screen to troll you EXE, you're going to lose all your fucking money. That's how secure Bitcoin actually is. It's as secure as you not downloading the wrong EXE. So if you're not compiling your own code and visually inspecting the code to make sure that there's no underhanded C tricks in it, well, then even Bitcoin is trustful, but people just don't realize it. Anyone could insert a steal your key bug into the Bitcoin code, and you would compile it and make your own EXE and run it and thought you were smart, and really you just lost all your keys.
Or you could just attack GitHub, replace the binary, literally have everyone download it, install it, run it, and not
this has happened. This has happened to other currencies.
Yeah, that happened. Not just currencies. Think about, let's not even talk about currencies. Let's talk about software, right?
Yep.
Like literally, if everybody's reliant on GitHub or insert some type of code repository library or company here, quite literally, you no longer need to worry about attacking the developers or any of that. You now just have to attack their security practices on their service. And quite literally, that happens.
Probably happens daily.
Yeah.
I guess he dropped out. I think his connection dropped.
He'll probably be back in just a moment.
So my point is, people have these fucking fantasies. It's a bunch of stupid people that hear a quote and then they run with it. They go, Bitcoin's got more hash rate. It's more secure. They're fucking wrong. They're wrong. More hash rate's better. Nope. It's what type of hash rate. If I 10x the hash rate personally, it's worse. You need it to be decentralized. But these stupid fucks that have audiences, they advertise things that are false and harmful, and they don't know any better because they're stupid.
It's the same thing as like journalism, right? Because you can only go so far to get the truth. There is, I mean, you can always go deeper and ask for more sources and go a little bit more vertical. But at some point, you have to say, when do I publish this?
When you do 80%, you're gonna get 80% of your results with 20% of the work. And then you call it quits.
So if I'm a trader and I say I run my own node and all of that, do I really have time to compile all of that? Do I have the knowledge and expertise to do that?
No.
Or do I focus on what I'm good at and just say I'm a Bitcoin user and run somebody else's node?
Sure.
I don't think anybody actually tries to say that they're developers or that they completely trust the code. But the problem is they're just.
I don't like security theater. I don't like people that double click someone else's EXE and think they're really making Bitcoin better. You're not. You're not making it better. And if he handed you a bad EXE, you wouldn't know the difference. You'd join right up, you double click that shit, and you make the network worse.
Which is why I asked you about auditing with HEX, for example, because it is important. That someone
really
who's
important.
Reputable,
really important.
At the code. So we don't have the DAO. I was there that night. I lost money at the DAO. I was freaking out at 4 a.m. I made a video while it was getting hacked, and I was trying to resolve and figure out what the heck happened. And it was because it was so complicated. So a lot of the Ethereum people will tell you, who were around back then, that it was too complicated for its time. Not enough people had really tried stacking that many smart contracts. You disagree?
There's all this block. If you're a real developer and you look at anything that's going on in any blockchain, anything, it's all dog shit. The actual Bitcoin core code actually sucks. The Ethereum code actually sucks. Solidity is actually horrible. So this is a small hobbyist movement of volunteers that built this shit. These people are not the best at what they do.
No, and they weren't paid by anyone. So, I mean, okay, so we were going back to that Ethereum.
It's the best we've got in the world, but this is a volunteer fucking project.
It's still the best. Okay, so it's slow. You talked about that. It's
no, I just mean low code quality.
Transaction fees. It's got low code quality. It's spaghetti code. It's not modular. The developers aren't paid enough to do it. Why, with Ethereum, with a bug bounty program and so many different other spokes that are attached?
That's why Ethereum has more features and more benefits and less fuck ups, even though they have a larger feature set, because they've got more funding and more devs and bug bounties, and there's more eyes on it, and they're doing more shit, and they've got a more aggressive roadmap, and things actually get forked in. We just had a hard fork 2 or 3 days ago. Worked fucking great. And what's Bitcoin doing? They're not hard forking shit.
What's up? No problem. Welcome back. So I mean, I don't know, man. You've been selling Bitcoin.
So I chose a superior network. Well, earlier he said that, you know, your project may suck a little bit more because you built on top of something else. And then I pointed out, actually, building on top of other things is awesome in certain instances, one being cryptography, and two, being a new cryptocurrency with new game theory. If you're going to have a new cryptocurrency with new game theory, you've got two options. Yes, two options. You can start your own chain and have SHA-256 hash rate and be annihilated anytime any other bigger SHA-256 chain wants to fuck with you. Or you could change your proof of work and be attacked by the whole rest of the fucking world that has more CPUs and GPUs than you. And both of those options suck. Or you could use this other option, which is superior, which is piggyback on top of something else, which has already solved all that shit and has a good auditing ecosystem and has lost so many hundreds of millions of dollars that they've figured out how to not to do it anymore. And building a new project on Ethereum is superior to building your own game theory and logic in your own chain, because you'll have lower hash rate and you'll have less security and you'll have less auditing ecosystem and you'll be the guy inventing new bugs and you'll be beta testing your own software. I don't want to beta test some fucking software to find the bugs. I want to use shit I already know works. 5 of the top 11 valued cryptocurrencies in the world launched on or primarily use Ethereum. TRX, EOS, USDT, ETH itself, BNB. That might be 5. 5 of the top 11 cryptocurrencies in the fucking world used now.
And Tether switched.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's better. Tether used to do transactions on Bitcoin through Omni. It sucked. So now they do it better on Ethereum as an ERC20. ERC20 is awesome. Ethereum's fucking awesome. And now why wouldn't you just buy Ethereum instead of Bitcoin? Or why don't you just buy Ethereum instead of HEX? Because I believe Ethereum has a lot of overhead because of all that awesome shit it has. People need to get their fucking bills paid. So when Consensus has a big bag of Ethereum and they've got $100 million a year burn in developer overhead, maybe it's $60 million a year now. It's probably 100 is my guess, but he might have done some pay cuts and it's $60 million a year now. Where do you think that $60 million a year comes from? Selling that shit on the market. They sell it.
But isn't HEX the same way though? Because it's really more sell pressure from
it's the opposite.
The free Bitcoin. Yeah.
Opposite.
Why would that be the? I mean, why is there just little bid orders, for example, if it's really still like
because everyone prefers to get it from the smart contract trustlessly than to risk counterparty and AML KYC through an exchange with a thin order book where you get fucked by Wick anyway. So there's always going to be onboarding trustlessly directly from the contract is superior to using an exchange. It's just better in every possible way, unless you get a deal. Like if you have a low bid that just happens to get hit and you don't get fucked with counterparty risk and the AML KYC works out, then you can do a little bit better on exchange. And there's 10
excuse me if I'm wrong, but can I get my Ether back? Is that even possible if I give it to the smart contract?
No.
As a certificate of deposit?
No.
Isn't that the certificate? I get some HEX for depositing, but eventually I can withdraw?
When you go to your bank and you get a CD, you give them your dollars, you wait a while, and you get your dollars back.
Right.
In HEX, you lock your HEX, you wait a while, you get your HEX back. There's no ETH involved. So you can pay so you don't stake BTC, you don't stake ETH, you stake HEX.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like you said,
you're staking when you do Lightning Network, but that's the point. I mean,
yeah,
but
it's different.
Like you said, people have bills to pay and so on, and they do so in dollars. So
yeah, so let's talk about externalities. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're tying that in.
Sure, externalities hammering the price.
Yeah.
In Bitcoin, we have all-time high difficulty, all-time high hash rate. Price is 3 times lower than all-time high, which means every single coin those guys sell, every single coin those guys get from mining, about $1 million an hour, they got to sell on the market to stay in business or close up shop. And you'll know they started closing shop when you see the hash rate coming down.
Correct.
So it's all-time high. Go ahead. Say again.
I was going to say that's the ROI of the difference of miners. Like, again, Bitcoin was a hobbyist attempt at something that grew very quickly. And instead of people wanting to actually scale Bitcoin, after Satoshi left, everyone just looked at it and said, well, fuck this. We're going to make our own money on side channels, and we're going to kind of leave it as is.
And then they all got rich. They all got rich by doing that.
You're not wrong by saying that. Yeah. I've said that numerous times, including you, Omar.
That's why it's called the tragedy of the commons, because it's a tragedy. Everyone will make more money watching Bitcoin die and doing something else. And it's a tragedy. But because
if you're looking at it solely for myself, I never got into Bitcoin for money, because when I got involved with it, there was no money to be made. Like literally we were in it for being able to send transactions permissionless in a way that, you know, no one could control, because it was self-regulated in the sense that we could control what we were doing with our keys and what our wallets had. And that's the only reason I got involved. So like whenever people started talking about the money side of it and everything like that, like that's just something I never really cared about, because for me, it was never about money. For me, it was what it represents. So when I talk about Bitcoin, I don't talk about the value or the speculation value around it. The only thing I bring up is that, and I've told people this before, if you don't have any more on-chain transactions and you don't grow those blocks to meet that need for the miners after this halvening, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be very upset when they realize that the hashing power is going to drop greatly, because if the fees and the rewards don't compensate for the lack of the block reward, it's a done deal. People will drop the fuck out because there's no money.
Yep.
And that's the business side of it.
You want to leave your miners on and lose money, or you want to shut them off and stop losing money, is how that works. So right now we've got all-time high sales pressure from miners at about $1 million an hour against the Bitcoin price, and it's security theater. The miners protect you from a certain type of attack, a 51% attack. They do not protect you from bugs. They do not protect you from regulatory. They just protect you from 51% attacks. Okay, so who are they protecting you from? Oh shit, themselves.
Other high networks, high hash rate.
There aren't any other high hashing networks.
Whoever controls the devices, basically, that can hash the same algorithm. That's basically who they're protecting you against.
It's a protection racket. You're paying the only assholes that could harm you. They're not protecting you from some other party. Back in the old days, they were, because a small network of CPUs would protect you from other CPUs that could just flip to fuck you up. Same with GPUs, okay? We're going to have these GPUs protecting us from all those other GPUs. But in SHA-256, you're not being protected from fucking anything, because the only people that could attack you are the very same people that you're fucking paying. It's security theater, and it's not where most of the bugs come from, period. So what do? You stop overpaying these motherfuckers. How do you stop overpaying them? You just don't pay them a block reward. So in HEX, we do not pay inflation to miners. Let me repeat that. In HEX, we do not pay inflation to miners. We only pay inflation to stakers, which means that if you're a staker, the inflation rate for you is fucking 0. There's no inflation for you because you're the one getting it. Now, inside that pool of stakers, if you stake longer, you're going to get more, and the little guy that staked less long is going to get less. And that's how meritocracies work. If you earn and you do better things, you deserve rewarded. Bitcoin has 2 pumpamentals. You can double click an EXE and get free coins. That phase is over. And the inflation rate drops in half every 4 years. And that's fucking it. That's all it's got. HEX has got like 10 pumpamentals. We reward honest behavior. You want to refer people? You get paid to refer people. You get paid to refer people in Bitcoin? Nope. Which is why no one fucking does it. Which is why Trayvon James and Craig Grant are making HEX videos and not fucking Bitcoin videos, because the game theory was designed better, and it's making a difference in the real world, and it's operating as it was designed. It's doing things that Bitcoin can't do, and if Bitcoin were designed better, it could do. Bitcoin's got time locking. It's got check lock time verify.
Yeah, but Bitcoin was never designed to be utilized in such a way of pumping economics. Like the entire system is derived from, it really wasn't.
That white paper did not have the halvening in it. The halvening was not in the white paper. He added that shit as a pumpamental, and he wanted the price to go up, and it worked. And we just have that, but more.
Because the price needs to go up to keep miners there, to keep the security high enough to protect against those attacks, hash rate attacks.
Right. So what we do in HEX is we do, it's a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake. For inflation, you have to prove that you staked. For transactions, you have to mine your own block in Ethereum or pay a penny for someone else to do it for you. Most people choose to pay the penny. So for 1 penny, you can get all of those features: rollback protection, fucking more diverse ecosystem of mining where normal human beings can become a miner by double clicking an EXE with a GPU. But in Bitcoin, you can't do that. You have to send your money to some shitty place that maybe sends you your miner on time, maybe doesn't, right? GPU mining is superior to ASIC mining. You get a more diverse ecosystem of miners. Normal human beings can participate. And you can onboard those people into the ecosystem by giving them some free coins for doing that. which was a good way to get new users in the beginning. That's how I got in. They got me with the freemium, and then I went all in. Not all in, but
that's how I got mine. I got a free coin February, and then I turned my CPUs into mining because it was no GPU time.
There you go. So he got in from freemium. I got in for freemium. Guess what? HEX has freemium. You can get the coins for free, but Bitcoin don't. Bitcoin doesn't have freemium anymore. So HEX is reliving the era where we have these new awesome things, and they're just for the first year, and then they all fucking go away. So you want free coins from HEX? Every week you don't claim, you lost 2% of your stack. You don't claim by week 25, you're missing half your stack. You're also missing half your speed bonus.
But here's the thing, Richard, and I'll be real with you, man. So money value has to come from somewhere. And again, going back to the externalities, people are looking at the price that they can sell it for on an exchange. They're happy now that it's on Binance. They're happy it's on Bitcoin.com. They're happy it's on.
I don't think HEX is on Binance, man. I would have written a press release about that shit.
I'm pretty sure I heard that today. But
I hope you're fucking right. That would make me very happy. But I don't think that that's the case.
Okay. Well, I could be wrong. Maybe I misread it. Anyway, I'll Google it later. So anyway, so people want to sell it, but that value has to come from somewhere. So either it comes from other suckers who came in after, right? So they bought up and bid up that token because they didn't do so on the smart contract. They did so on one of the exchanges because for whatever reason, they're not technical enough. They just figured, I heard this coin's going to pump. I want to buy it. And I didn't have my coin for whatever.
Well, I mean, I could give you other examples. Maybe they don't have ETH. And maybe they have something else that they want to turn into HEX. Well, then they need to operate on an exchange that has that pair, or convert into something to get somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, but why would people bid HEX any higher than 0? I mean, obviously it'll have some sort of price unless it's controlled. And part of that is just pumpamentals and hype and all that. But like, wouldn't it be mostly, you would argue, because of that ether that does have value?
No. Have you heard of Dogecoin?
Yes.
Have you ever used it?
Yes.
No.
Actually, most Bitcoiners were using it back when it first started because it was cheaper to send money than it was when the fees were really high on Bitcoin.
I heard there was some like NASCAR scam, and I just didn't feel like getting involved too much.
It wasn't
I was like,
a scam.
It's just
they just
silly
paid. They crowdfunded some NASCAR thing to slap the Dogecoin thing on there. Here's my point. Have you heard of anyone losing money transacting in Doge, like the network failed? No. Why? Because it's just a fucking fork of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's pretty good. And so forks of Bitcoin actually work pretty good. So no one's actually having any fucking problem with Doge. Works fine. You know what that shit's worth? That shit you ain't never used? Only 1/3 of the people on this call has ever used it, and we're experts in the space. It's worth $250 million, and it was made as a joke, literally.
Yep.
So when people ask me why HEX will have value, the answer is 1, it's amazing and world-changing, but 2, if it was a stupid piece of shit, it would have a high value fucking anyway, because that's how crypto is. So if it was a terrible, retarded piece of shit that didn't have anything interesting in it whatsoever, it would still have some fucking value that seemed unreasonable.
I agree with you. I actually do agree with you. And you know what you've said before, people are making scams everywhere. So why not come up with something better than everybody else, right? So
I truly think HEX is better than Bitcoin. It doesn't have the liquidity yet. It's different to build on top of, so you can call it from other contracts. But if you want to do Lightning, Lightning's not going to work as well on HEX as it would work on Bitcoin. And it doesn't have ATM network where you can onboard, and you can't buy shit on it with a darknet. Like, you can use Bitcoin in the darknet. Those are the things. You might be able to
buy it. If somebody wants to accept an asset, they can on the darknet, right? If I had a site and I want to accept HEX, I could. So it functions.
We've got one retailer currently.
Well, I mean, but the same can be said for anything, though. Like
exactly.
Yeah, anybody will accept anything for value. It's just dependent on the person and/or the entity that wants to accept it.
I think it's more on the marketing aspect of it, and that's what I actually find rather ingenious, Richard Hart, is that you find many ways to actually possibly make it look attractive from a marketing angle, and I actually respect that greatly. Like, no joke, because that is a big piece of things. Is just how people come into thinking about something. So I'm not going to call it an outright just complete scam because it might make someone money. So to them, it's not a scam. Just like people
it's more secure than Bitcoin. It's had more audits and it's more modular. It has lower fees.
It's faster.
It monetizes time instead of hash rate. It pollutes the environment less. It does so many things better than fucking Bitcoin.
but I can't pay the network fees with it. I can't. Well, maybe
you
if I
you
use
can,
relay yeah. But realistically, by itself, what value does it have besides just staking?
It has no value at all except doing almost everything better than Bitcoin. So that's
this
all.
world is nuts, so I can't even deny that it'll have value. It's the worst part of it. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about traction, right? Who gives a fuck if it's any good or not? Lots of the good things that don't get adopted, right? So let's talk about traction. Over 146,000 Bitcoin has free claimed their fucking HEX in 13 days. That's over $1 billion of Bitcoin in 13 days. I've spent $0 on marketing. $0. Zero.
You are the marketing man. You are.
So to have over $1 billion in BTC claim their free HEX, to have over 40,000 stakes open, to be the number 2 app on Ethereum ever since its launch. It was number 1 for a while, but then some game had more transactions per day. HEX does 10 times the volume in ETH, but this thing has more transactions because I guess it's part of its game or whatever. That's the real world adoption we got. Number 1 and number 2 DApp on ETH. Over $1 billion of BTC free claims in 13 days. On 10 or 11 fucking exchanges in 13 days. On CoinMarketCap, on CoinPaprika. We've got 3 or 4 different websites where you can track all the statistics. What's the biggest whale? What are the whales doing? Who just made a transaction?
Can you say those real quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the community built all these things. I didn't build any of these things. The community built all these things. Those exchanges reached out to me to say they were listing. The community reached out and said, hey, we wanted to build some cool stuff. What do you think might be cool? So my favorite site is hexstat.com. Stat, no S at the end, not plural, just stat. He's got a chart of future market supply that shows when the stakes are expiring. We're the first cryptocurrency in the world to have that, which means that we could have less downwards price volatility because we have a more known future market supply, not total supply, market supply. If Satoshi came on this show right now and said, hey, I'm going to sell all my coins next week, you wouldn't believe him. You'd think he was lying because it wouldn't be in his interest to say that. In HEX, we have a truth engine that rewards you with inflation in the currency to be truthful about what your future market ability to impact and sell is. Here's when your stake ends. Here's where you can sell without a penalty. Amazing, amazing invention. And it's what they do in the real world. In the real world, you've got time locks. Like if you're a company, you have a vesting period for your shares. If you're a CD, you get paid more if you stake longer. That's how the real world works. We're taking things that work in the real world and we're putting them on the fucking blockchain. And no one else did. Don't know why. I built it. It should exist. Now it does.
Interestingly, CoinMarketCap doesn't list any of the different exchanges.
That's on the exchanges. And I actually prefer that currently. I prefer that right now because people over FOMO'd day one, even though I warned them. So EOS made $4.2 billion having a contract on Ethereum that you would send ETH, and then at the end of the day, you would get EOS ERC20 tokens. What do you know? It was the most profitable project in crypto history. They made more than Satoshi and more than everyone else combined pretty much. HEX has nearly the same thing. They had 24-hour periods. They had 23-hour periods. We have 24-hour periods. In HEX, every day for 351 days, we're on day 14 now, I believe, you have a bucket full of HEX, and the bucket gets smaller every day because the more people that free claim, the bucket gets smaller.
But
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish.
So here's your bucket full of HEX, and then here's your empty bucket where people put ETH. If you put in 10% of ETH, you get 10% of HEX. Bucket's empty. Next day, now a little bit less HEX. Empty bucket. People put in ETH. You're 20% of the ETH, you get 20% of the HEX. Bucket's empty. Next day. So that system, it's amazing because you can't overpay. You're getting the same deal as everyone else that day. You're all getting the same deal. So if people complain that day one, people sent $3 million to the contract to mint, to transform ETH into HEX and mint their own HEX, the market did that. And I published the EOS charts and said, look, everyone FOMO day one, maybe you want to scale in. Kyle, who's on the homepage of the website there, wrote a contract that allows you to scale in over time. You can send it ETH, and it'll set himself as the referrer. So you'll get a 10% bonus, and he'll get a 20% bonus. And the currency will inflate 32% to pay both those guys. And then it will enter every single remaining day of the launch phase so that your dollar cost averaged across the whole thing. Regardless, everyone over FOMO day one. They just didn't give a shit. So we had 2 years of pent-up energy for people that wanted in, released in a single day. So the valuation that they gave, the effective valuation of the total supply, was in between $1.9 and $2.2 billion for a currency that just launched. Obviously, that was a little overvalued, and obviously they over-FOMO'd, because now people are getting 10 to 20 times as much HEX per ETH, because it's just one day's demand with the next day's demand with the next day's demand. It wasn't 2 years of scrunched up demand executing in one day, and those guys, they got a worse ratio because they wanted a worse ratio because they made the ratio.
If I had to be real, man, if I had to be real with you, Richard, you know, it would be real sad if we lost you tomorrow and you died, and then funds moved in that origin address that's holding the ETH. Because if I had to think just in, like, from what I know and everything I've thought about, to be real, completely real, and I'm not just calling you a scammer or anything, if in my nature I think about what this really, like, who is this good for? Who would this be a guaranteed good for thing? Would it be good for me? Probably not. This is probably going to be a worthless shit coin in 3 years. I think in your heart, you already know that. That it would probably be gone. I think deep in there, and let me just finish here. And I'm not knocking you again. I'm not trying to just attack you, but just like, assuming it wasn't Richard Hart, if this was anyone else, if you just put any personality in there, the structure of this looks like there's going to be a lot of ether that could possibly be entering a smart contract that no one knows who controls it. That's this origin address. It gets bonus, my understanding, 50% of this and that. And basically it's got like $5 million worth of ETH. Not bad. Not a bad retirement egg if like, you know, I died. Or if it was a real scammer who did have access. I'm not saying you have access to it, but assuming you did have access to it, it would not be bad, especially if you feel like in 3 years, ETH is still going to be around and will have value somewhat. Even if it drops 50%, you got 2.5 million bucks, not too bad.
It's 5.8 million now.
Okay. So like, what do you have against that? Like, since you don't want to tell people who controls the origin address or who will get access to the origin address, everyone's going to assume it really is you. And for example, you've changed your name from Richard, I think Schweller it was, to Richard Hart. Yeah. And there's a lot of conspiracy and drama. I'm not going to even try to break it down. Around Panama in 2007, you're someone who's the spam king from the early 2000s. Basically, from what I'm hearing, you basically invented spam. Like,
lol, that's a good one.
Which is pretty okay.
I was one of the first people in the world to get sued for it, but I didn't fucking invent it.
Yeah. And so you have this guy who's just really great at talking smart, been around for the history of crypto. Then you've seen all these spams. You realize that everything goes up and down anyway. So fuck it. We're going to make something that's a little bit better. We're going to make a scam, not a scam necessarily, but something that's structured smartly to evade the SEC, right? Because no one controls the origin address. We're going to make sure that the SEC.
No, we know someone controls it because it sent some money. So of the 40, let's see here, how much? 5.8 million across.
Oh, it's sent. Okay.
41,000 ETH basically. So of the 41,000 ETH it received, it sent 195.
Okay. So it's like,
so someone's got the keys.
So it's a nice savings account for someone to draw upon, and they figure out how to mix it. They can sell it when they need to. That's Occam's razor right there. It basically says that someone is getting ETH, which probably will have value in 5 years because it's had value for the last 3 years. It's building up. And
this is the longest run-on sentence I've ever met. What are you saying? Are you saying HEX sucks because someone's going to make money on it?
No, I'm saying, how do you refute that? How do you refute that you don't control the origin address and that you aren't trying to scam everyone? You have to, if you can separate your claims into like the smaller claims, I can address them. But I can't answer a giant compound question because people will take whatever my answer is and apply it to all of the other things that you said. So just one at a time, just small questions, and I'll give you answers. If there's smoke, there's fire, right? So if you were someone...
I have a smoke machine and it doesn't use fire.
Okay. So there's, assuming where there's smoke, there's fire sometimes,
Okay.
not all the time, obviously.
Sure.
If you're someone associated with all these different scams and
no. So no.
in the journal, in the media, people like to put your name next to it, whether it's true or not.
Okay.
I don't know whether it's proven or not. How do we trust that this is not a scam when you've said
I would suggest that you do not trust. I think if you're trusting, you're stupid. Cryptocurrencies were invented to get rid of trust. You don't need to trust me. I could be the biggest piece of shit in the entire universe. I don't matter. The code matters that you run when you mint your coins. I don't fucking matter. The HEX website doesn't matter. It's non-essential. There's no essential effort on my part. I don't matter. I don't make as many YouTube videos as everyone else makes. I don't make as many posts as everyone else makes. All those websites, which I'm going to list real quick because I forgot to do it, Hexviz.xyz with a VIZ, real-time audio notifications of anything that happens on the HEX network. Hexstat.com, chart of future market supply, all kinds of different charts. So these stats I'm telling you, like how many ETH were sent, I'm pulling it from his site. If you want to use HEX and run the software, you don't need HEX. You can go to etherscan.io and do it all right there. And there's a guide that we wrote to tell you how to do it so that you don't need HEX's website. You don't need me. You can run your software by building your own client or by using etherscan.io. That's easy as hell. And there's other places that are building that functionality as we speak so that it's totally distributed. It'll be easy to use any way that you want to use it. And that already exists today. You could go to whalehex.com on Twitter. It's a whale monitor that tells you when something big happens. Big guy move coins, big guy stake coins. There's a real-time monitor in Telegram called HEX Winbot, which will tell you every single thing that happens. You can subscribe to different types of events. You can unsubscribe, and it will just hit that message window in Telegram with every single thing that happens in HEX. You can track all the movements of everything. When Ethereum, when people run this flush function, which moves the Ethereum out of the contract into an address, which is called the flush address, you can watch that happen and you can do it. So I saw a YouTube video of Craig Grant actually running the flush function. I'd never seen it done before. I don't even know how you would do it. And he ran the flush function and moved some large number of thousands of dollars of value from the contract to the flush address. I was like, oh, that's fucking interesting. And people apparently love to run that because it's been run a shitload of times. And you can track what the origin address has been doing with its coins. So the origin address got a bunch of coins. It gets half the bonuses, right? So if you get a 10% bonus for referring for using a referral link, it gets a copy. If you got a 20% bonus for referring somebody, it gets a copy. If you got a 20% bonus for claiming the first day, it gets a copy. It just gets a copy of bonuses. Doesn't get any interest, doesn't get any base claim, doesn't get anything on those things. Doesn't get a copy of the adoption amplifier. So you can see those coins that it gets, what it did with them. Well, from what I've seen, it's moved it to 10 or 12 different addresses, and those addresses are staked mostly for 10 years. So apparently, whoever is in control of the addresses that are related to the origin address, apparently they believe in the long term because they're locking up their coins for mostly 10 years.
Wait, are you saying the origin addresses you don't control? Is that what you're saying? I just want to make sure I understand that correctly.
Here's the legal aspect of it. If you want to be on a crypto exchange, they don't have broker-dealer licenses. They can't deal securities. If you want to be on a crypto exchange, you have to not be a security. If you want to not be a security, you have to pass the Howey test. If you want to pass the Howey test, here's the 4 legs. Are people giving money to a common pool with the expectation of profit solely from the work of others? In HEX, who does the work? You do the work. You mint your own coins. You mint your own rewards. You mine your own block or pay someone else to. There ain't nothing going on my end. I can't change shit. Nothing I can do. It's you and the contract. Have fun. And what does a contract do? It's just code that sits in an Ethereum address and just sits there inert.
Quick interruption. If, let's say, Ethereum moves to Ethereum 2.0 and certain smart contracts need to be upgraded, like Aragon's losing, I think, 130 of their
we're fine.
Would you like mint another one?
No, you don't have to. Like we know what problems would happen and we've already avoided them. Okay. So the reason Aragon's contracts were deprecated was because they increased the cost of the S-load function by 4 times. And so anyone that was operating at the capacity of what ETH could do was at risk of having failure. And so we, one, super optimized the contract to be extremely gas efficient using bitwise shifts and other advanced tactics, caching, like reading, a lot of really technical stuff.
So you're saying it's forward like ready or?
Yeah.
Or...
So what we did was we
So
reduced our.
So do you control the address or not? That was the question.
No one can know that. So the thing that I'm trying to tell you is, for legal reasons, no one can know. Because if you knew, you might start having expectations. And if you start having expectations, you might fuck up one of the legs of the Howey test. So I don't want you to have expectations. So I'll tell you I'm not doing a damn thing, and nothing can be done. The code's locked, right? So there's no essential. I just
wanted a yes or no. Yeah. You could just say no or yes.
I can't even give you that. I have to give you a no comment because of the law. Now people think this is shady, and they're wrong and they're stupid. Let me tell you what shady is. Shady is what ICOs did, making you big fucking promises and getting lots of money, because the bigger promises, the more money. You want more money? Make bigger promises.
But isn't HEX an ICO because you launched on ETH?
No.
Okay, so
it's not.
They transformed.
It's a really big difference. It's a really big difference. Yeah. If I had coins and you gave me something and I gave you the coins, well, that's a sale. You're minting your own coins. The network rules are just different. It's just like mining a Bitcoin. When you mine a Bitcoin, who gives you the Bitcoin? You give you the Bitcoin. You invent it.
That's what ICOs basically were when they first came out before 2017. Yeah, they gave them their name. Is you sent tokens to an address and it spits something out to smart contracts, something else. You didn't have to go through KYC. Like when
I've never used an ICO before. I'm not an expert on them. I just know they mostly went to zero. There was one good one.
They did basically what HEX does, which is, you send a coin permissionlessly and you get something else through the smart contract. Not necessarily
HEX is the opposite of an ICO.
Mailed it to you.
It's literally the opposite.
An
ICO, not really.
Literally, it meets the definition. You're sitting here saying you legally can't claim the ownership of a wallet that controls a large
amount. The concept that you can own a wallet is also false. You can't even own a wallet. That's also a misnomer that everyone accepts.
In a minute, I'm going to have to jump off this call because my laptop's going to die. But I just want to say this to everybody that's listening. Look, if you don't like what someone's trying to sell you, don't buy into it. If you don't want to hear what someone has to say, don't listen to them. Literally, you do this every day in your normal life to every fucking person that comes up to you on the street asking you for money or anything else. The only thing I can say is that having not done any research on HEX, and what I'm saying is literally the questions that I were asking were trying to formulate that opinion based on ownership and a few other key characteristic things that I was going to dive into. But what I wanted to say and reaffirm to everyone, if you don't like what he has to say, don't listen to him. I mean, quite literally, I'm not giving you any money. Why? Because I don't.
You can't give me money. You don't know my address. You couldn't give me money if you wanted to. You're incapable.
But you understand what I meant by that.
You're not participating in the HEX project. I understand what you're saying.
And what I'm saying is everyone else can either choose to do that or not to do that. Same thing they did with ETH, same thing they do with any other project. And what I find funny, and I will give you this, you get a lot of people really upset about it. So first thing
I think they're going to get more angry the more successful we become. I think that the rage will grow. And that's fine.
Look, I'm all about shit posting. I'm all about people, voguing for life and shit. But like the reality is when we start talking about this stuff, when people don't understand that they have choices and that they can choose to mute shit and that they can choose to ignore it, that's what bothers me, is because all these people get really fucking worked up and they
cancel culture.
Yeah, but they also don't realize that they could just like fucking ignore it.
Yeah, you're getting bullied on the internet. Close your eyes. Turn your head. Try getting bullied in real life. That shit don't work. You're going to stay getting bullied. So if you wanted to see HEX be more successful, then you should convince me to make really big claims and tell you what things might happen. And then HEX would make a lot more revenue. So it's funny that everyone's trying to convince me to do that. But I'm doing the hard thing that generates less revenue, the honest legal thing, and giving you no expectations. So I'm doing something which makes HEX less money and is harder and shittier and clunkier to do because I care about the law, but everyone's yelling and screaming at me to do the opposite. and start making fucking promises and start giving people expectations. Like, hey, you going to use that money for marketing? You going to use that money for a roadmap? Tell me what your roadmap is. What kind of partnerships are you going to do? And I'm doing the hard thing that is like, it just sucks for me that I do the right thing and then I get accused of doing the wrong thing. I fight scams and get people to stop promoting scams and have a 3 times audited, openly verifiable contract that is peer-to-peer and trustless. And then I get accused of the fucking opposite, literally. I get accused of being a scam instead of fighting scams. I get accused of being secure when we improve security. I get accused of fucking like having no demand. Why would anyone buy this? Well, I don't know, bro. They just bought 3 million of it fucking on the first day, and they're buying about 200K of it every day now, maybe 130, 140 sometimes. What are you, like, you can't measure reality? You're telling me that this shit has no demand. Well, explain the fucking demand to me, because there's $6 million of fucking demand. What the fuck are you guys talking about? I don't understand what goes through people's heads. I measure reality. I show them the reality. The reality's fucking obvious. I explain why something's better, and I show them that people are already participating. And then they're just like, oh, I don't see it. I don't understand what product market fit looks like. Bro, our chat rooms are blowing up. Our fucking adoption is blowing up. Our fucking places are calling me to list constantly. We're the number 2 app on fucking ETH since the day we launched. What more could possibly be fucking better? There's nothing else that could be better. We're even working on. Go ahead.
Do you not see an actual risk with singular entity to have control over the wallets and to actually have control over profitability?
Yes. So here's an example of what I mean of being accused of the opposite. I invented the first cryptocurrency in the world with a chart of future market supply where you lock your funds so that you can't surprise dump them. I invented that. But his question literally states the obvious opposite, which is, isn't someone going to surprise dump? No, because the fucking coins are locked up. I just told you that entity that got all the fucking coins sent those coins to 10 or 12 other addresses and locked them up for 10 fucking years. But even after I said that, I get accused of the literal opposite. Can you imagine how irritating that is all day, every day to have that shit? Now, I don't blame him. He's a smart guy. He just heard this shit for the first time, and it is really complex. But apart from him, I'm getting this shit all day from everybody, accused of the opposite all day. And it's fucking harmful for my psychology, man.
It's not really the coins, though. It's about the ETH itself and the origin.
The ETH is totally fucking irrelevant. It is totally irrelevant.
But not really, because it has value. It's got money, and that's...
Bro, when you go to the movie theater and you give them money, do you KYC AML them and ask them where the fuck the money goes? No.
Of course not.
You fucking lose what you had and you get what you wanted. And that's all of commerce. Say again?
I mean, any type of trading, any type of value asset, it's the same.
I don't understand why, like, every single transaction and network that people participate in, they're not AML KYCing and I fucking living shit out of the other counterparty. When you do any other financial thing in the world, you lose what you had, you got what you wanted, and you fucking move on. And so I don't understand where this like interrogation, junior cyber police fucking bullshit comes from, where everyone thinks it's okay to ask about what someone else is doing with their money. How dare you ask? How dare you fucking ask? Does anyone ask you what your wallet address is and how you're spending your money? And wouldn't you be fucking offended if they did that? Wouldn't you be offended?
Don't answer them. No, I just don't answer them because I don't respond to idiot.
Right.
Fucking
even public companies don't answer these fucking questions. If you go to fucking McDonald's and you say, hey, I want to know what you're paying for cheese and show me the invoices, bro, they won't fucking do it. So I don't know why you guys think it's okay to fucking ask these stupid fucking questions. It ain't your money. Stop asking about it. It ain't your money. Nobody asks you about your money. Watch your own fucking money.
And again, going back to my statement where I was saying to you, just like I was talking to the crowd, you don't want to get involved in something, mute it, don't listen to it, don't get involved with it.
I ain't never asked nobody in my life what the fuck they were doing with their money like. It's disgusting.
Well, you know, it's been honestly like tough questions or whatever, or the same annoying questions, but I have to ask.
You had to do it. You had to do it. Your audience might not have heard it before. You're doing fine.
On the consciousness.
Yeah, you're doing the right shit. You are doing the right shit.
I want to make that clear, though, that I just want people to get that information. So I'll ask the dumbest of questions too.
Sure.
I agree that you shouldn't ask someone what they're doing with their money. And
if they're evil or some shit, well then okay, make sure they're not doing evil. But I don't think anyone.
Okay, sure, yeah.
The right. 99.5% or more of the ETH has never fucking moved. So of 41,000 ETH, fucking 195 of them moved. So obviously, unless you can do something really exciting with 195 ETH, there's nothing to fucking talk about.
Yeah. I have a question from Best Mentalism real quick. You say we cannot know if you own the origin address, Richard, but
Well, you
can
could
you
know
say
it.
that
You could know it, but it would cloudy up and muddy some of the legs of Howie, and I'm not interested in doing that because it's not good for the project. So
but
yes,
can
you
you
could convince
say
me.
definitely that you don't own it, Richard, for sure.
I'm making no comment about any of this shit. Like the junior interrogation shit, it ain't working. I've been interrogated by better. I'm not doing it. You're not supposed to know who owns or has control, or even if there are fucking keys, which now we know that some keys do exist or did exist because a transfer occurred, but maybe those keys are lost again. Who fucking knows? You don't, and you should stop asking because you're harming the project. Asking those questions makes it less likely to get listed on exchange.
Does anyone have any other questions for Richard or Daniel? Please start sharing them now in the chat, and I'll ask.
I have 2%.
Unless Daniel has to go. Yeah, Daniel.
I enjoyed talking to you, man. I appreciate the conversation.
Likewise, and like I said, I'm coming in from someone who actually didn't know shit about your project. So like,
claim your free HEX, bro. Claim it; it's free. You claim with a signature.
I don't get involved in any of that.
You didn't claim your free XL. You didn't claim your free XLM, your free XRP, your free BCH.
No. Well, actually, my BCH or any of those, I haven't. I just don't.
All right.
Well, they're there. You don't have to claim them.
They're
in
the
HEX.
BCH
They're not there. In HEX, you got 1 year to claim, and if you don't claim, it's all gone, and you bleed out over the whole face. If he didn't claim now, he's already missing 2% of his stack.
I'm just not getting involved, and again, like I said, it is nothing.
Daniel, with your 1%, tell us a little bit about Burst. What's going on with Burst since you work on it?
Right now, we got 3.0 getting ready to launch. Going to be introducing some new changes, a bunch of new features coming out. You can check the GitHub. It's in alpha on testnet now. We're waiting to assign a block height for that, which, if you're not familiar with Burst, Richard, it uses a different consensus non-proof of work, utilizes proof of capacity with a Shabal 256 output for measuring plot size. For
we talked about proof of capacity last time, Richard,
capacity
and he wasn't the biggest fan.
Capacity of what?
Writing out disk space. So like think
so proof of storage, like Filecoin.
Yeah, except predates it. Actually has smart contracts before ETH, but yeah.
Cool. I don't have a problem with that. Sounds cool.
Oh, it is. It's just the thing is again, when people start talking about the traction thing, and it's funny you brought that up, is because there is better tech that's already out there for a lot of other things, and people just don't know about, and they don't care because there's not enough marketing hype. So like part of this discussion is interesting to me on seeing it on that perspective. But I want to say I got to go because I got 1%. My laptop may die.
Pleasure, man.
Omar, thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for your time.
I would like to have another conversation.
Anytime.
Maybe you and I could get on YouTube.
Sure, anytime.
And actually, I would like to spend some time looking at HEX and then
read the code, man. It's really well commented, and there's a guide.
So then let's do this. I'll DM you, and then let's schedule like something on your stream where we can sit down and talk.
Sounds great.
And, I'll be technical about what's going on with this project.
All right, I'd love that.
Thanks, Omar. You guys have a wonderful day.
Hey, thanks, Daniel. Take care, bro. Bye. All right. Well, honestly, Richard, I want to keep asking questions.
Do it.
But like these are just.
I will stay here for 8 hours. I don't give a fuck, man. Like I will talk and answer questions. I've already like every single thing you could think of to ask. I have already answered 10 times before and wrote it in text and linked to a video where I said it. So all these things people are asking are already answered in the chat room. If you go to HEX Crypto on Telegram and you type !pasta, it gives you the menu of all the answers that you want. And some of them were so popular that we took that answer out of the pasta response and we made it its own chat room. So you want to ask about, is he recycling Ethereum back into the contract? Go to HEX AA. Click the pinned. What about all this FUD? What about, I don't like how much origin address is getting. I don't like his past and all that shit. Okay. Go to HEX FUD. Click the pinned. It's all fucking answered. It's all taken care of.
It's good stuff. Road Warrior wants to know, 86, what happens at the end of the stake when most stakers will like to cash out? There will be a massive dump, it seems.
Right. Everyone, once again, is retarded. So they don't understand that when you have a year of claim phase that auto stakes 90%, you have a year of dump. Doesn't happen on the same day. It happens over a fucking year because the claims happened over a year. But people, they don't use their brains, so the shit doesn't work right in their head. Now, not everything is auto staked. So the people that buy in through the AA system, or rather buy in through exchange or mint their own coins through the AA system, they can do whatever the fuck they want. There's no auto stake. So they can stake for 1 day. They can stake for up to 5555 days, which is about 10 years. Well, it's about 15 years. So how do you know whether they're going to dump or not? We're the first cryptocurrency in the world with a chart of future market supply. Look at the fucking chart on hexstat.com. 90% of coins are staked, 88.3 the last time I looked, and they're all on the fucking chart, so you can see when they can dump. So they can't surprise you.
Alrighty then. Amiris Brown wants to know, any way that Hex could be better than it already is? Would you change anything in its design if you had to start over again?
Yeah, I probably would have had it inflate faster the first year to get the share price to scale higher. So right now, people don't realize at scale that there's a share price, and that every day you wait, if you stake, you're going to get less shares. And so there's an advantage to staking earlier. I would have amplified that advantage a little bit. It's not pushing as hard as I want, and our visualization of it is not as good as it could be. So right now, it shows you a share rate that's started off at 100 million, and now it's like 99.8 million maybe. And then it just keeps going down. Well, that sucks compared to just inverting it and showing the share price going up. So it would be very nice if we inverted it and showed it going up instead of down. So that needs to be optimized. It doesn't need to be, but it would be nice if it happened. And I probably would have had more supply come out the first day to help cancel out the fucking over FOMO. So there was 2x supply available the first day. It was 1 billion instead of about 500 million the next day, to try and cancel out that over FOMO, to try and make a prettier price shape. And that shit was not enough. They over FOMO'd 10 or 20x. And so it was like, okay, I didn't think that would fucking be what happened, but it's what happened. So if on CoinMarketCap, the first exchange that gets added has a memory of that time phase, it's going to make the chart look shittier. I don't like charts that just fucking dump the first day, but it's so common, right? Because you have thin order books. Like, it happens to almost every new coin now. And I just don't like the way that chart looks as a technical analyst. So I would prefer that on CoinMarketCap, the first exchange that gets listed is something maybe like Bitcoin.com, or we just got listed there, or one of these other exchanges that's newer, so that we can get, more just up in theory, and without that stupid single big red down, because people over FOMO day one. So I guess I probably would have, if I did it again, I'd probably change that. But I mean, there's a downside of doing that too, right? Like, so if you front load and you give a lot of supply to those early guys, there's less left for the later guys. And HEX is designed for this later phase. HEX is not optimized for performance on day 6 and day 14. That is not its design parameters. Its design parameters are to make it fucking crazy, a year and 2 years from now. And a lot of what's going on in this phase, this launch phase, if you stake longer, you can get up to 3x the shares. And then when the giant big payday comes out on day 353, you're going to get maybe 3 times as much of it. And that's the game, right? So the game is, all this hyperinflationary period where everyone's getting these coins, went from 0 coins to billions of coins. It's lining up for what the future system state's going to look like when that shit's over in 335 days or something, 337 maybe. There's no more inflation then. It's a maximum of 3.69. And it will really be less, because it only happens at the end of a stake, and these stakes go many years. So it will be less than 3.69%. It has less inflation than Bitcoin's ever had. Maybe now, just like these last month, maybe it's in the 3.6s. It used to be 4 times higher. It used to have 4 times the inflation rate. So it's really, in my mind, a game of how much of the thing do you want to own at the end of this launch phase, and that's where the real magic should happen. Because you're not competing. Right now, there's a competition between demand on the exchange and demand directly in the transform system in the contract. And so what would be, millions of dollars of energy going into the exchange is instead millions of dollars of energy going into the more trustful, or the more trustless, more secure system. And then after the launch phase is complete in 330 days, you're going to not have that competition any longer. And then any interest and economic energy will go directly into the exchanges, and then you should see increased price performance. Now, this is assuming, static or increasing demand. I have to always include this caveat. Shit can go to zero, man. It's crypto. Even the best crypto goes down 85% every couple of years. So you're very likely in any cryptocurrency to have a period of severe depreciation. You have to be aware that that's likely to occur.
That was a good response. I like that last part. Always be aware of that stuff. Did Richard send his own ETH, as Heike H, into the lobby?
Nope. When the contract launched, I didn't even own maybe about $100 of ETH. So, no.
Since ICO sellers can buy from own sales for free up to 100% of the stake, plus get all payments others put in, how can you claim that it is decentralized?
So EOS launched with nearly the same system, and people said the same fan fiction bullshit when they launched, and they did a 40x in the bear market and made more money than anyone else in crypto history, and is still higher priced now in this shitty market than when they launched. So fuck yourself. We've got a real world company that already did nearly the same thing. Now the difference is they had all promises and no product. We have no promises and all product. Product's complete. Opposite. Similar contract start, right? So Consensus tried to fuck them up and say, oh, you were recycling and putting the fucking money back in, and they did this whole chain analysis shit. And you know what they got in the end? They got nothing. Coins went from their contract to Finex, and then who fucking knows what happened? Nobody knows. Maybe Finex knows. Maybe the guy that was running the account knows. But your dumbass on the internet don't know. And they raised $4.2 billion. So I have a good idea. Since HEX has raised $6 million instead of $4,200 million, why don't you take your fucking lazy ass, little private investigator bitch ass, and go fuck with those guys that raised $4.2 billion and got a letter from the SEC that said, here's a $24 million fine, a 0.5% fine on your $4.2 billion raise, which is $4,200 million, because they had the same system that would be vulnerable to the same type of shit that you're talking about. So go fuck with them. Now, in our system, I can tell you that I think you'd be able to detect it if it were occurring. If someone was recycling ETH energy by flushing it and then putting it back in, I think that it would overinflate the price in the contract compared to, I should restate that, overinflate the ratio in the contract compared to price on exchange. And then the question is, oh, well, why don't they pump both? So you're worried someone's going to increase the price of something you bought. You're worried they're going to pump the price. In a free market, anyone that has economic resources can pump the price, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Oh, well, Richard, why don't we lock the ETH? Oh, so maybe if an entity has ETH and HEX and you lock its ETH, what do you think it's going to sell, bro? You want it to sell the HEX? You're stupid. Your ideas are stupid. This shit was already played out in EOS. They've already done the witch hunt. They already got a fucking free pass. Everything fucking worked. It's working for HEX. Only fucking 0.5% of the ETH moved. You're an asshole. And if you want to read this that I'm telling you, it's already been written for fucking months. And you go to t.me/HEX FUD and click the pinned, and you're going to see the written version and video version of all the same shit that I just told you. So 1, you can't stop someone from pumping the price in a free market. 2, if you lock the ETH, were you trying to support the fucking ETH price or something? You want people's transaction fees to be higher? I don't understand that. 3, maybe that would put downward sales pressure on HEX. Who knows? 4, you should be able to detect it by differences in the exchange and in the contract. And 5, you could do chain analysis and see that not that many coins have moved. So fuck yourself.
All right.
Furthermore, that argument that you need to be decentralized to pump is false as fuck, because XLM pumped and was a top 10 crypto with 80% in a foundation, and XRP pumped harder than Bitcoin in 2017, a lot fucking harder, and they had 60% and basically a central entity. So this concept that you need some type of decentralization for price performance is fucking false. You need decentralization for censorship resistance. You do not need decentralization for price performance. Jeff Bezos owns a lot of Amazon. Is it hurting its performance? No. So people make this fucking this stupid switch in their head where the decentralization that's useful for censorship resistance in the network, they somehow think, oh, well, I'm going to extend this argument now to the fucking ownership cap table. And now the capitalization table has to fucking also be decentralized. If truly decentralized was so great, well, one, Bitcoin's not, because 42% of it is owned by less than 2,000 addresses, and most people have more than one fucking address. And all of those guys have been penalized by the silly whale penalty. 50 to 75% if they could claim, and many of them can't claim because of the multi-sig can't claim feature. So most exchanges can't claim. Bittrex can, Binance can, but most other exchanges can't because they use multi-sig. So I'm helping kill whales to create new whales. I'm creating something that prevents surprise dumping by incentivizing you to declare when you can dump by time locking. I'm solving the problems you guys are talking about, but you just don't notice that I'm the one doing something about them and solving them. And you guys are watching me do shit and yelling from the sidelines as I improve the world, and you watch. I'm the gladiator. You're the people on the sidelines eating fucking peanuts. What was the other? There's some other thing in there.
I think you covered a lot. Since ICO sellers can buy from on sale for free up to 100% of stake,
yeah,
plus
we did
get all
that
payments on the. Yeah, well, I think that was pretty much it.
Furthermore, that would be the equivalent of increasing the price. And there's a reason you don't have $10,000 Coca-Cola. The reason you don't have $10,000 Coca-Cola is because they would sell less Coca-Cola, and then they would make less money because there's an elasticity of demand that you can put on a fucking chart. So saying that you could just...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Saying that you could just infinitely increase the fucking price of an economic good just because you can, I don't think that means that you'll make more money overall. That may disincentivize some people for participating. Maybe raising the fucking price isn't actually good. Go ahead.
So, Ballotpour asks, why do you need an appreciating token to pay out interest? Wouldn't a CD equivalent be in stable coins? I think I'd have to agree there.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm thinking about it.
Lol. So you guys like counterparty risk for 7% is what you like, right? You like giving up your keys. You like to give up your fucking keys for 7%. You understand that when you run one of these stupid fucking services of which you're describing, there's a buyer's order book side, a seller's order book side, and then a counterparty that handles the order matching, and you get fucked with scam wicks, and they run off with all the money, right? So you give your keys to BlockFi or Celsius, and they give your keys to fucking BitGo or Gemini. And then they say they're going to pay you some rewards if the government doesn't seize your coins, and if there's not a technical failure, and if BitGo doesn't run away with your coins for 7% in crypto. Bitcoin's up 700,000x, which is 7 million%, and you fuckers are risking your whole stack for 7%. Doesn't seem wise to me. HEX solves that by having trustless interest, which is likely to appreciate more. Because in those systems that you're talking about, since everyone's just sitting on their fucking coins and not using them anyway, lots of people are happy to take that counterparty risk. And you know what it does? It drives the return down. So they used to be offering 14%, and now they're offering 7%. And I wouldn't be fucking surprised if in 2 years they were offering 3 or 4, because people are so stupid they love to give up their private keys. They love it. They just can't wait to give up their private keys.
What if I just use Cardano or like Tezos instead and call that a CD?
Then you can do that. There are proof of stake products which give you a yield. You can get yield in Bitcoin by buying mining hardware. You usually lose. You can get yield in proof of stake. You can get yield in masternodes. The difference is they are not the same product. They don't pay you more if you lock longer, and you can dump whenever the fuck you want. In Tezos, you have to wait 22 days to dump. That's not the same product. They're competing. They're different products.
Fair enough. Yeah, completely different feature sets on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not completely different, but we pay more if you lock longer, and that's what a CD does, and none of those do.
Richard, you're an asshole.
I am.
If I think you're a complete scamming asshole, and I do you believe in karma? How will HEX affect the karma of yourself? Do you believe in karma?
Karma does work if you think it works. So you will fuck yourself if you think you deserve to get fucked. But if you don't think that you deserve to get fucked by being evil, then you won't end up getting fucked. So I prefer to live a very good and wholesome life, which is a reason that not a single human being has ever presented themselves and said, Richard has scammed me. Thousands of other assholes that have not been scammed have said that, but no one has ever actually been scammed. Or they would say, hi, I'm XYZ, and Richard scammed me. Just like they do every other bad business that's ever fucked them up. You go to the dentist, they do bad work, you go on Yelp, you complain. You buy something online, it sucks, you complain in the forum. There ain't a single human being that says Richard didn't even give him a good deal, let alone fucking scam. But you guys are such pieces of shit that you're happy to defame me and write libel about me, not knowing a fucking thing about me, because I don't know, you get your rocks off doing that shit. I wrote 2 self-help books that I give away for free and have changed lives with and have been told multiple times by dozens of people, which is a small number, but guess what? If you're changing lives, it's still a pretty good number. Got people to quit video games, got people to quit gambling, got people to quit poker, helped fucking lives. That's my first YouTube videos. When HEX is done, that's the next thing I do. Crypto interrupted me doing the Scivive movement. T.me/Scivive, SCIVIVE. I want to make the world a better place. I want people to invest in medical research. That's my real goal. Crypto got in the way of it. It interrupted me. It took 2 or 3 years pause in what I really want to do, which is Scivive. So I do everything for free. There's no ads on my YouTube channel. There's no margin trading links on my YouTube channel. There's no, hundreds of people have emailed me trying to get me to sell you guys shit, other crypto products. I think they're not good products. I don't fucking sell them to you guys. Free books, free chat, free videos, and now free tokens. How fucking dare you impugn me? You couldn't give me money if you wanted to. There's no shopping cart where you could put your credit card. There's no address where you could send me crypto. How dare you accuse me of being a scammer? You have no evidence. Not a single shred of fucking evidence, you scumbags. You are the scammers. You are the scumbags. You are the false accusers who could be spending your time actually attacking actual scammers that fucking exist. Are you fighting Cloud Token right now, which is the reincarnation of Plus Token, which owns 1% of all Bitcoin? That's a fucking Ponzi. Are you fighting that? No, because you're wasting time with me, a person improving the world, fighting scams, improving security, writing software that's audited and fucking openly verifiable. And you fuck with me? What are you doing about fake Satoshi? I confronted fake Satoshi in person and called him out. Did you?
I saw that video.
Yeah. So I do more for Bitcoin than anyone that's on this call. And I do more to call out scams than anyone that's on this call. I'm talking to the viewers mostly here. So how fucking dare you accuse me of this shit when I'm doing literally the opposite? I'm doing more to fight scams. I'm doing more to improve security. I'm giving everything away for free. What the fuck more do you want?
I think, yeah, for sure, man. Daniel had it best when he said, just if you want to engage, engage. If by this point, I think you're not convinced to at least like partake in HEX, then go your own way. There's no point in spending time being vitriolic and attacking people. That's one of those things that annoys me, Richard, is just people focusing on attacking a specific person or one thing. If you don't like it, just fucking move on. Everyone has to like join your brigade.
I like attacking scams. I think attacking scams are good.
Yeah, you're one of those guys. I don't give a shit. I'll say it once and move on. I don't know.
I hear you. I mean, it's just, I wish they would just get it right. I wish they would understand what they're talking about. You know, they say it's high inflation. We got lower inflation than Bitcoin. They say it's insecure. It's more secure than Bitcoin. They say to fucking, it's too centralized. You're like, okay, well, look at XLM, XRP. That shit seems to work just fine. They just, everything they say is fucking wrong. And I have to correct everything they think.
Yeah. I met a Dash Whale actually this last week, and he asked me to have you on the show. I was like,
nice.
I was talking to him about HEX, and I told him some of my shortcomings with it, basically, and how I thought it would be all right to claim my free Bitcoin, but I'm not going to be telling my subscribers personally, because I do care about them, to give away their ETH, because
Roger Ver claimed, and you're wearing a BCH Please hat.
Yeah, there you go.
It's good enough for him.
I just do this to piss people off. I don't care.
He claimed and he listed it on Bitcoin.com.
Yeah, it's listed there out of spite, apparently, because Peter McCormick talked to you or something like that. I don't know why did he list it on Bitcoin.com?
HEX is listed 10 places now in 2 weeks. It's going to likely be listed a lot more places. We bring value. We bring users. We are the hype. We're the most interesting thing going on in crypto. people are leeching on to that value. They're not doing us a fucking favor. They're doing it out of their own self-interest. They're not helping HEX. They're helping themselves.
Yeah, it's a way to get credibility and, you know, look like the nice guy and all this stuff. But at this point, it's just brigading. So again, like Richard, thanks at least for coming face to face, digitally, to talk a little bit and taking that time. I know you're busy and you're doing a lot of interviews and trying
I need to do less of these, truthfully. There's a lot of other shit.
Stop soon.
Well, you run out of people to talk to. So now I've crushed so many people. I have a trail of bodies behind me of people that have tried to step to me, that people are just afraid to do live streams because they know they're going to get ruined. And you see, like with the other dude you brought on, we agree on most shit. So when people are smart and get it right, you're just going to find agreement from me. I'm not disagreeing for fun, right? I just have a desire to speak truth. I really enjoy getting things right. And, you know, it's been that way ever since I was in middle school. I went to an all really smart kids school, and I was one of the not smartest kids there. And so, man, if you didn't say shit perfectly right, you're going to be in a long argument. So you learn to speak with hedging and more likely than not, and never using the word always and never using the word never, right? Because you get fucking argument on any time you do any of those things. And that's the environment I grew up in, and then I just kind of stuck. So now I care about specificity to a great degree. I think if people don't love HEX, they don't understand it. It's really beautiful, and it's really designed well, and it really has good intentions. And the only thing people, I think, really hate about it is that someone that invented something amazing, or entities that might be associated with that invention, they might do well from it. And if you don't like people doing well from making great things, you're fucked up. We live in a capitalist world. When you look around your room, everything good that you see was brought to you by a company that profited from doing it. Every single thing I see here, these were not socialist created inventions. These are capitalist created inventions. Capitalism is fucking good. It is voluntary and it is good.
Let's try shit, man. Whether it works or not, it's out there now. So let us know your comments down below in the chat. I think we've covered a lot of stuff on this. Yeah, we're all alive on the other side of it. Thanks for sticking with us. I know a lot of people didn't want to see this interview. I think it's one of my most disliked video I'm hearing, just because Richard's here. But I'm gonna take that as a medal.
Hey, haters, go to HEX Bad. Go to t.me/HEX Bad. I started a channel just for people that hate me and hate HEX, and they post memes and telling how fat and shitty I am and how I'm going to jail.
You can probably find something better to do.
It's amazing. You can't actually. It's a very, very busy chat room. There's 400 people in it, and it gets about as busy as my 6,000 member chat. That's how much they hate. They love it. And I go in there and troll them and post fucked up GIFs, and we have fun hating each other.
Alrighty. Well, where can people check out yourself, your own content?
Sure.
You're still making YouTube videos, interviews, and stuff.
Yep. If you want to read some books that could really change your life and they're free, go to t.me/Scivive, SCIVIVE. If you want to hear my predictions on price, which mostly is just HEX lately.
What's your prediction, by the way?
On Bitcoin price?
Yeah. Let's get some of that stuff, actually. Actually, let's go short term. Let's go end of the year and then till summer through the halvening.
So that's 2 weeks from now, the end of the year.
Yeah.
Price, I think, 68.50. So I'll just round it to 7K. Someone asked me this question a few months ago, and I said 11K. We've had no follow through on the China pump. It seems like Plus Token guys keep dumping more. They're dumping like 1,000 coins a day, it seems. So
1,500 Bitcoin a day.
Yeah, and the miners dump about the same amount. So a little less bullish. So I'm gonna still be slightly bullish, but less. So maybe a month ago it was 11K. So now I'm gonna go like 8K. I could go 8K in 2 weeks and hope.
That's good. I like that. 8K. There were less scams last moon run, so it's going to be many different dynamics.
Well, that's the lottery. If you don't know when the next scam's ramping up, you don't know anything. So if you're not watching scams balances, you don't really know what the price is going to do. So don't have any certainty or confidence in that number I gave you. I really mostly pulled it out of my ass.
Cool. Thanks for that. And I guess we'll leave it at that. Take care.
Pleasure. Oh, I should. Let me finish. Twitter.com/Richard Hart Win. youtube.com/Richard Hart, t.me/Hex Crypto, Hex Charts, Hex Trading, Hex News, Hex AA, Hex Claims, Hex Bad, Hex FUD, Hex Memes. We run shit on Telegram. We fucking run it. Ain't no one doing Telegram better than us. We got a tipping bot. You can tip people Hex in there too. If you want to donate to charity, donate to sends.org. And if you want free Hex, you can claim it for free as a Bitcoin holder, or you can transform Ethereum into Hex trustlessly. Go to pumpamentals.com. You get a 10% bonus. If you don't want the 10% bonus, you can go to hex.win. And if you just want to see every day how much Ethereum came in so you could hate better and be angry about it, go to go.hex.win. And they really start chucking the Ethereum there at the end of the time phase, which is 7 p.m. EST for the next 337 days, pretty much. You can watch it on mobile. You can use MetaMask Mobile, or you can watch it on desktop.
Well, once you're done kind of going out there and talking about Hex, I would love to have you back at some point, because despite all of this, I know you might not like Hex, but I think Richard has a following because he has been around for a long time. He does understand a lot of what's going on with this markets, technology. And so I always appreciate the opportunity to talk to somebody who's pretty smart in this space above all. So I'm glad this kind of gave me a chance to catch up again with you, Richard.
My pleasure.
At least from that side of it. And I look forward to the next time, man. So take care all. Bye-bye.
Take care, man.